flag and then to the Texas flag. And we're going to ask our brother Charles Tompkins, who's in bright blue today, to lead us in that invocation, if you would, please. So would you please stand?
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you that we have lived to see another day.
Amen.
And Father, we lift this court to you. We lift the judge, the commissioners, everyone that is part of this court. Father, that everything would be done in a timely manner. Father, we realize that there's a lot to approve on this agenda, and we pray for your wisdom, that everybody will be pleased based upon what's going to transpire in this court on this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Would you be seated, please? There are a couple of scatter chairs, if y'all can find them. Agenda item number 2 are public comments, and if we don't have any registration, Miss Mary, then we are going to move past that to agenda item, or to consent agenda items number 3, 4, and 5. Number 3, consider and take action to approve the treasurer's list of claims and bills. Item 4, consider and take action to approve payroll. 5, receive and approve Grimes County third quarter investment report for the period ending September 30, 2019. See page 5 of this agenda. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on any of the consent agenda items? If there are none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
There's a motion before the court by Commissioner Walker, second by Commissioner Dobianski, to approve consent agenda items number 3, 4, and 5. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now go to agenda item number 6, Commissioner Precinct 2, Commissioner Dobianski. Consider and recognize the following employees for their years of service. Sam Nobles, 30 years of service, and Patrick Simchak, 25 years of service.
All right.
Look at Sam first. Get the photobomb on this one.
Yeah, photo.
Sam, does it feel like 30 years or just yesterday?
No, it feels like it.
Oh, it feels like 30 years. Oh. Well, honesty is the best policy. Patrick, would you join us up front?
Yes, sir.
And Patrick's in for 25 years of service.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good.
Patrick, thank you so much. You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam.
We get a beautiful vacation.
Thank you, Sam.
A year of vacation?
You might want to talk to Perry about that. Why the long phase? Huh?
The long phase, they gotta go back out to the grind. That's excellent. That says a lot about our road and bridge, Harry. Thank you. All right, with that, then we will go to agenda item number 7, Grimes County Investment Committee. Janice Trant introduced Samuel E. Vaughn as prospective dealer broker for Grimes County. Ms. Trant, are you here?
Judge, Miss Trent is not here. If it pleases the court, I can introduce Mr. Vaughn.
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
where are you, Mr. Vaughn? You want to come up here? This is nothing more than an introduction to the court. The investment committee has been working on some things that
Mr. Vaughn, could I get you to stand over here by the podium?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
may be a little more productive from the investment side of the county's money, while maintaining the security of the taxpayer dollars. And Mr. Vaughn represents Financial Northeastern Companies. FNC is what they call it. And he is a broker, which is allowed by law for the county to enter into an agreement. And it may be sometime in the future that we approach, the investment committee approach the court for some agreement services with Mr. Vaughn. And I just wanted to bring him to the court's attention today and allow you to ask him any questions. If you have anything to say, you're welcome to say it as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. I know you'll have a lengthy agenda, so I'll be very brief. What Janice and I and Mary Ann have talked about and Commissioner Cox have talked about is serving as a resource on the public funds investment side of things for the county. I opened the branch office for Financial Northeastern 4.5 years ago because the firm specializes in federally insured certificates of deposit from well-capitalized banks. The idea being that through our platform, you can see what the market for certificates of deposit is like nationwide and take advantage of higher interest rates on your investments when those are possible. I'm working with over 30 counties in Texas now, as far away as Potter County and Amarillo, Midland County, and as close to home as Brazos County. And we've got about $200 million overall in insured CDs that specifically in each county's case fit their portfolio demands and their need for liquidity. So what I wanted to make sure I had done is, you had my contact information. I know you might not necessarily have any questions right away, but if any come up, I wanted you to feel free to contact me as well.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Vaughn, where are you officed out of?
I'm in the Austin address, but it's technically Round Rock area.
Round
so-
Rock's okay, Austin's a little weird.
But I'm from a small town. I'm from Glen Rose, Somerville County, so that's my background. So.
And so, one of the things that's intriguing about Mr. Vaughn's business is that it's a no fee to the county business. You might want to elaborate on that.
Absolutely, that's worth elaborating on. It's no fee and no obligation as well. Essentially, what we do is we serve as an underwriter for the banks and credit unions that are in the marketplace. So if we find someone that deposit is a good thing for, the bank is paying us a fee for that deposit. We use that fee to cover all of the charges associated with maintaining a clearing and custody account for the county so that you know that your funds are being kept safe appropriately. And it is a new issued marketplace as well, so it's I guess the best way for me to describe it is a level playing field. If you see a broker offering, two different brokers offering the same new issue CD, you're going to be looking at the same price to the county. You're not going to be paying a premium or receiving a discount. So going into it, you know what you're paying, how much interest you earn, and when you're going to get your funds back. And it's also there to serve as a resource. I was just talking to Archer County up in North Texas this morning. They've had an account open for over 2 years, but they have never made any investments because their commissioner's court hasn't gotten quite to the point where they're ready to do that. So I understand, and I think it's worth mentioning too, it's a process. It's not something anyone should be rushing into, and part of this is making sure everyone's kind of comfortable and on the same page before we look at what the next best step would be.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Vaughn, thank you. Commissioner Cox, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you said we have your contact?
Yes.
I have a card right there.
I can give you all a card if you would like.
Thank you.
And I will clear out.
All right.
This is standing room only, commissioners.
Well, it gets more exciting from this point forward. All All right, we will now go to Grimes County Agenda Item Number 8, Grimes County Elections Administrator Lucy Ibarra. And that is consider and take action to certify and canvass the returns for the November 5, 2019 general election. Ms. Ibarra?
Yes. Get this out of the way. All right, guys, so I've got canvas packets for each of you.
And let the court note that she has survived her first
I have.
election,
It
so.
wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible. Election day, if you saw me running around like a chicken with my head cut off, that's a little different though. Don't quote me on election day. Okay. So, no big surprises. We had a total of 2,210 voters. Everything went fine. We did have a total of 11 absentee or mail-in ballots, which are featured on the, so your first page is gonna show you your cumulative total, so your tally totals. And then your next your next pages are gonna show all 10 propositions. So total votes, and then it also includes your absentees, your early voting, and the total precinct reports as well. So very simple. This ballot was wording may not have been simple on the ballot, but the ballot itself was very simple. We didn't have anything local, we only had propositions.
Any comments from the voting public that we only had early voting through the Monday through Friday schedule versus
No, sir.
weekend vote?
No, sir. It has been brought up in previous meetings for the primaries, and of course, when we have local options that we may need to consider, like we talked about before, having some Sunday options, but not for this time.
Okay.
So we had people that actually cast a vote, but then they didn't, totals are different, they just didn't check yes or no to any of them, and then,
Right, yeah, so you're gonna have some that just, they may have done 6 out of the 10, or they may have done
Oh,
8.
okay.
That does happen.
I understand we even had one voter come in, you mean there's not a, like, Democrat or Republican to switch, there's not a yes or a no?
Yes.
And there wasn't, and they said, well, I'm not voting, and walked
Yeah,
out.
we had one, he was a little angry. I had a long conversation with him afterwards. It's fine. Yeah, it happens, and I know that this ballot was a little confusing with wording and things like that, and so we did have some people concerned over that as well.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners?
Okay.
Well, congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
first election to get you warmed up for the
Yes.
primaries in March and the general in November.
Yes, wasn't too bad.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to certify, it is an action item, right?
It is.
That we certify the returns for the November 5th, 2019 general election.
Second.
second.
I think Commissioner Cox beat you there. We have a motion before the court on agenda item number 8 by Commissioner Walker. We have it seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 9, Human Resources, Lucy Pope, number 9, consider and approve the updated salary structure and change of status form. See attachment number 9. Ms. Pope.
Okay, Commissioners and Judge, as you're aware, we have a new counting system, and everyone who is employed with Grimes County must be listed on the salary structure. So if you'll see the highlighted positions that have been added, we just need for you to,
And those are the ones in yellow?
yes, the ones in yellow is what we added. And then the change of status form, we needed an updated change of status form, and this status form was created to work for all departments. This form has been looked over by the auditor's office and the treasurer's office, and it meets all their needs.
And
So
HR's office too.
Right.
Okay.
And so if I could get y'all approval for both of them, for the salary structure and the change of status form.
I did have a question.
Uh-huh.
Under salary, grade level 1, we have a librarian.
Right, she is the part-time librarian in the jail. So the LE is, I spoke to Todd, and instead of putting SO, he wanted to change it to LE, which is law enforcement. So if you look with the librarian, there's an LE. And then on page 3, all of the law enforcement was changed to LE1, LE2, so on, so that covers all law enforcement. that works for Grimes County.
And whereas once upon a time DA's office was under a different
Right,
series,
right.
now they're considered law enforcement, which they are.
Right.
But they have LE designations.
Right.
Okay.
That is correct.
Thank you for clarifying. Can you say what you said again? sir?
Yes, ma'am. Previously, we did not count the DA's office as SO because that was under two different elected officials. So sheriff's office had their own distinction, but now we have them defined as law enforcement. So sheriff's office, law enforcement, DA's office is law enforcement, and so
Right.
forth.
The investigators for the DA are really law enforcement officers. So,
Did that make sense? Okay. And Commissioner Cox, since you kind of are the commissioner overseeing, have you seen this prior to
I
this
have,
morning?
yes, we've,
Okay.
I have,
Did you have any issues or concerns what we've previously talked
I do
about?
not.
Good. Okay.
Judge, if there's not any further questions, I move that we approve the updated salary structure and change of status form.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 9 by Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. Further discussion? I'll just make the comment, elected officials are now on the
on the
salary sheet.
Salary
You are now
structure.
recognized as employees of the county, so all elected officials, be aware.
be aware.
With that, if there are no further comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 10, consider and approve adding the word continuous to the policy on vacation leave. See attachment number 10. Ms. Pope?
Commissioners and Judge, once again, on our policy of compensation, it does say, effective October 1, 2011, employees who achieve 10 years of continuous service, and it continues on, shall receive the pay increase, which is at $1.20. We did not add that to the vacation. It affects their vacation too. So after they pass that 10, they get to that 10 year, their accruals goes from 3.25 to 5. And so we need to add that on number 2, part B, add continuous years through the 19th year in the position.
Is that after the 19th year? Is that what you want to
Now,
add the word?
employees who have worked for 10 continuous years through the 19th year in a position. So these employees are aware that they have to have 10 continuous years, even for their compensation, and it also affects the vacation.
And that was to solve a little bit of the concern that if somebody worked for the county, say 3 years,
Right.
left for 2 years,
Right.
came back, now they work another 3 years, they don't have 3, 2, and 3,
No,
6.
it's gotta be
It's
continuous.
back down to 3 years.
It's gotta be continuous.
That's not to penalize, but that's typical with what the
Yes,
I have a
world is
question.
around
Would
us.
that also apply to C, where it says employees have worked 20 years or more? Would that continuous apply there as well?
yes, it would. So we could add that too, have worked 20 years continuous in that position.
Okay, and I guess the agenda would allow us to make that change, would it not, Mr. Foltz?
Sure, Judge.
There may be other changes down below. But you
Ma'am?
have the same wording in number 4. A.
We could add continuous down there on A and B, or just A. For a continuous to the 10 years worked in a position and the 20 years continuous in that position.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to go back up to number 2,
Mhm.
2B, and specifically on B, Where do we insert continuous?
Employees who have worked for continuous years through the 19th year in a position.
Okay, and then to address what Commissioner Walker said on number 4,
Well, we need to
Oh.
go to C.
C,
It's continuous
So,
after
20
the 20
continuous.
years. Uh-huh.
okay,
And then 4A, where it says 10 years, put continuous work in a position. And then less than, let's see,
and then also in that one, okay, less than 20 years, doesn't matter, 200 hours.
with continuous 20 years in such a position.
With 20 continuous years in such a position.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Are there any other changes anybody see? That's it. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 continuous is added versus
Right.
the one we started with.
Yes, sir.
It's a little bit more, it might be 5 or 6.
Ma'am?
I said maybe 6. Do we have to number them, just find it?
No, I was just making sure that we're all on the same page, that where we're adding continuous in those places. So I've got 4 additions.
I'm counting 6.
6? Okay, where do you have 6?
Down in 4A,
Uh-huh.
you have continuous 10 years. Is that twice or is that once?
Okay, that's 1.
See, 2 10 continuous years and then 1 20 continuous years.
Right, right.
So that's 3. And then
That's 3.
further up, you have A,
A and B, I mean B and
A,
C.
B, and C. So that's about 6 continuous years.
So you're looking at A, B, and C, and then A.
Mhm.
There's 3 in
3 in
4A, right? And then 3 up here. That would be
If I'm reading
6.
correctly.
Auditors, do you agree on this? The 6 changes? Okay. Because y'all are the ones that audit us on this. So. Treasurer's office have any thoughts? Agree with what's being said, you think? Okay.
Just to be clear, it seems like 7, there's 3 at the top and 4 at the bottom. I think y'all are missing the 4A has 4. There's 2 20s. Everywhere there's years and, or numbers in parentheses. 10, 10,
Yeah,
20,
I do see
20.
another one.
So that one should be 7 total.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, 7.
Do I hear 8? Do I hear 8? I've got 7, I need 8.
All right. Motion.
All right, we've got 7 continuouses added, but that should clear that up so we don't have any concern about that. Is there a motion?
I move to approve adding the word continuous to the policy on section 2A, B, and C as noted, and in 4A as noted for on vacation leave, policy on vacation leave.
There is a motion before the court by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We will go to agenda item number 11, Grimes County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Dan Caswell, who would be the bearded wonder standing at the podium.
No shave November.
No Shave November, that's right. Consider and take action to approve inmate housing contract with Trinity County and authorize the county judge as signatory. See attachment number 11. Sir,
This is the exact same thing we have with Washington and Madison, we just changed the name. Basically, when other county jails get in a bind and we're not, we can house for them. And once we do this paperwork, they pay us to house for them
okay.
versus us doing it as a favor. So
And-
that's why I'm here.
And the rate that's,
$35 per day per inmate. And they
and we're-
cover all the medical and any other expenses beyond that.
And we're okay with that?
Yes, sir.
There's no further questions or comments. I move that we approve the inmate housing contract with Trinity County and authorize the county judge's signature.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 11 by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. IT Director, agenda item number 12, consider and take action to approve the final payment for Journal Technologies for Justware software and to terminate the contract effectively 12/31/2019 for County Court at Law. See attachment number 12. I don't see, is Andrew in here?
I can speak to it.
You can speak to it? Okay. So let's take a look at number 12. All right.
Okay, this is to get out of the agreement that was originally started with the district clerk's office and then moved over to the county court at law office. We have found some better software that will interact better, and this has been dragging on for 5 years or more. And so Greg has negotiated with them. He went through all of the contract and all the payments that we had made to them, and he came up with this same dollar figure, and we counter-offered and they said no, so we would like to just get this paid and get them out of our hair.
Okay. We did have Mr. Foltz kind of involved in that a little bit, did we not?
Mr. Cannon asked me to review his proposed letter to Justware to indicate that we wanted to terminate, and he wanted to make an offer, and I said, let's just ask them what their number is first. That's the last that I saw of it, so I'm
Right.
assuming Greg handled it after that.
Yes, sir.
I have not talked to Greg since he and I talked about that letter.
And to make clear, the DA is still,
DA is still on. This is just to take care of the mess that's been going on with county clerk and county court at law.
And we have a budgetary item to
We have
address
fund
this?
balance in this fund to take care of it.
and originally, this was a $430,000 contract, and we're negotiating down to 79.
Yeah,
Yes, but we paid some of that.
Yes, okay, so, but we won't have as much hosting, we'll only have that one person hosting now, DA.
DA, yes. And their agreement is about $35,000 a year.
Commissioner, Greg did the calculation of how much they had provided to this point that he felt like was an obligation of the county. Again, I haven't talked to him about this number, so, I mean, there's that issue, assuming that he's agreed to that, and I'll certainly take the auditor's word for it. But this was for service, this is a bill for services that have been rendered to this point, for which the
Okay.
county has to pay.
And Greg and I did have, he and I had multiple conversations on this during his negotiation. And I don't remember the number to the penny, but it was around $80,000 when we were talking, so this is fairly close to that.
Well, he did, our journal did send a letter about how much we were paying on the hosting fees and the subscription fees, and I think Greg did an excellent job in
Oh, yeah.
negotiating us out of this contract.
So with that, would you care to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the final payment to Journal Technologies for Justware software and to terminate the contract effective December 31st, 2019 for the county court at law.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 12 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to agenda item number 13, Emergency Services, Emergency Management Services Coordinator, Mr. David Lilly. Discussion take action to approve Shiro Volunteer Fire Department's request for early second quarter payment. Mr. Lilly?
Yes, sir. As you know, Judge, Shiro Fire Department approached you and I about possibly getting an additional, like an advance payment on the second quarter. They have several upfront costs that they need to meet, such as for their insurance and so on. And they requested the court consider approving an advance payment on their second quarter. I can tell you that for the contract for the tiers, they meet all the way to tier 4 with nothing in progress. Everything is good to go for.
So they're solid?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And just to remind the commissioners, one of the changes that we made on the contract, instead of paying the full stipend at one payment at the beginning of the year, we moved it to quarterly. And Shiro's saying that their 1 quarter payment is not really enough to cover their insurance in total. So they have requested their second quarter payment early.
I just have a concern that if we approve this, we have other fire departments. Are we gonna override it?
Well, we could have that request come up. I don't expect that we would have that by each fire department, because some departments might have a little bit more, I say a little bit more, some have a lot more cash on hand than others. But because this is a change, particularly this year, from what they've been used to, I would be, well, I'm even ready to make the motion if I need to, but if we budgeted the amount for the full amount for tier 4, so we know we have that money available, so it's no penalty to us as a county to pay it all at one time, but it was designed to enhance the county's cash flow by paying on the quarterly. And the second component of that was for any department that might be at a tier 1 or 2 working towards a tier 3 or 4. Once they achieve that level, then we would up their quarterly amount to the tier level they are qualified to receive. Is that right? Did I say that right, Mr. Lilly? Okay.
And
Did
they're
that
at a
answer?
tier 4?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're, yeah. So they're at a 37,500. I don't know what that is divided by 4. We've made one payment to them, or we're making one payment to them. I don't know.
Ms. Trent, do you know if one's been made?
Okay.
That's a monthly or a quarterly payment of $93.75.
Okay.
So this would be a total of $18,750 for them.
Judge, if I could just, along the lines of what the commissioner suggested, if the court intends to, and you may or may not want to put it on a future agenda, but it seems like it clearly is a modification of the contract, because there's no provision in the contract that allows early payment. So maybe you want to consider that modification, but I want to be sure that everybody on the court is clear that this is distinguished either from future years or because of this particular circumstance for Shiro. You recall, of course, we've got an equal protection issue here, and you've got to treat every department the same way. And so if all of a sudden via video every department's in here next meeting says, I want to advance mine, I want to speed my payment up, I want it, the next meeting, you have to decide why it is that different departments are going to be addressed or dealt with differently. I certainly understand that this being the first year that that would make sense that there would be a transition period. I'll leave to you to decide whether we want to do a modification to the contract. You know how much effort that took to get those contracts signed. So I don't know that you want to put it on the agenda for a formal modification, but I just want to be sure that it's everybody on the court is clear that there's a reason behind the change or the approval that's being made today that would apply across the board or to folks that are in a similar circumstance.
Right. And the chief, Dan Sharon, from this department came in on a meeting, requested meeting, talked with Mr. Lilly and myself, explained his situation, and said that we don't have enough cash flow right now to cover our insurance, so we don't want to inhibit them from working uninsured, but his request was reasonable. And I wasn't gonna approve it just on my say-so or Mr. Lilly's say-so. That's what we have in front of court today. And then if we get all the departments up to a tier 4 by next year, maybe we choose not to do a quarterly payment, or maybe we do a twice-a-year payment.
Do I hear you saying that you think that's necessary, that we do a modification?
I don't think it's necessary. I'm just, it's not in the contract. This would be a modification, whether it's a written modification or not is the only question. So this would be a modification, which is fine. I'm just saying that if you get a flood of other folks making the same request, then you're back to where you were, and why did you make the change in the contract anyway? And I understand that maybe next year you go to semi-annual at one time, and all that's fine. I just want to be sure that everybody on the court is clear about why these folks are being treated this way, so that when and if another request shows up in front of you, you treat it similarly.
Sure.
Look,
Good advice. Yes, sir.
the contracts are with each individual fire department.
That is correct.
So, with respect to what the county attorney is saying, if in fact somebody does request early payment, we can certainly address those individually and assess the needs or what we need to assess going forward.
And that's what was done in this instance, and I appreciate that comment. So with that, is there a motion?
I move to approve Shiro Volunteer Fire Department's request for an early second quarter payment.
Second. There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 13 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioners. On agenda item number 14, consider and take action to approve the addition of 4 Todd Mission VFD Volunteer Fire Department handheld radios to the Grimes County 700-800 radio count. Mr. Lilly?
Yes, sir. Todd Mission Volunteer Fire Department is currently using the 7-800 trunking system as their primary in all fire and accident responses. One of the main reasons they're doing this is that they have found that this system is very reliable, more so to some extent than VHF, because as we know, we have some issues with VHF on the southeast side of the county. Also, the fire chief is looking to eventually try and have each one of her active firefighters have this capability at least as a handheld when they're operating on the ground. So they went and purchased an additional 4 radios, and they vetted this through Thomas Gilbert with the BB-Wax at the COG to make sure that these radios are suitable and properly programmed to be able to be used on BB-Wax, and he gave them a thumbs up on that. But now we're just asking the Commissioners Court to consider adding these to our radio count. Again, this will not actually take effect on our budget for the amount of money that we pay until next year.
Right. But by next year, it would be about an $80 increase.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And for the record, do you know how many radios Todd Mission currently has under subscription less these 4? That would be handheld vehicles.
Including vehicle and handheld. I don't know the exact number, sir, but I would say somewhere in the range of about 18 to 20.
Okay. And then 4 more on top of that?
That would be without these that added to it, yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Lilly, will you remind me what the agreement is with regard to who maintains ownership of the radios?
The fire departments maintain ownership.
Even of the radios that we've acquired?
Yes, sir. We are responsible for tracking these radios because they are on the BB-Wax system. They're not considered BB-Wax resources or county resources. Once they're provided to the organization, whether it's sheriff's office or fire department, they become the property of those departments.
Okay, I didn't recall that provision. If that were not the case, I was going to suggest that we have them label these radios because they would be treated differently, but you're saying they're all treated the same.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we made sure they became, and Mr. Lilly worked it out with BB-Wax that it was not an issue. We get them under the watchful eye of each of the volunteer fire departments. That way it's covered under their insurance. So if they lose one, one's stolen, they can claim it and potentially get a replacement for
Yeah, I
them.
just remember how, and I don't have it in front of me, I didn't remember how we ended that discussion about who was gonna have ownership, because there was a discussion about
There was.
Yeah, the initial discussion, when we had the meetings, I want to say back in the spring, when we were first looking at this, was that these radios would be treated sort of like grant-funded radios, where the county, in my case, myself, would, on behalf of the county, would inventory these radios and maintain control of them. But several of the fire chiefs brought forward a concern about that any assets that we provide to them, like the judge said, these assets, if they're not considered fire department property, if something happens to them, they cannot make a claim with their insurance companies for this because it's not considered fire department equipment. So after discussing this with the judge, and I brought it before the Commissioners Court, I believe in the last meeting, Judge, if I remember right, that we changed the status of these radios to fire department, or again, basically, in this case, fire department, but any radios that we receive that are added to BBWAC, whether they're sheriff's office, constables, or fire departments, those agencies would actually maintain responsibility for those radios. And part of the reason for that, again, is that they're not actually grant funded either. These radios were basically gifted to us, so.
Right, and that was where I think my concern arose originally. We don't need to belabor this thing, but it was if they were being given to the county and the county was turning around and giving them to nonprofit corporations, was BBWAC and/or the COG okay with that?
Yes.
That was the question.
Yes, they were.
And I think it addresses it in the contract, but I would say check the contract, because I do remember seeing.
We did make the change on the contract, yes.
And we also got some guidance out of the auditor's office with Talita working with us. She was in our conversation, was quite helpful in those conversations, so.
And it wouldn't change today, and all I was suggesting about today is if they were gonna own these, because
Right.
they purchased them,
Right.
that they label them so that one day there's a dispute about whose radios belong to whom, we know, but
Understood.
it's irrelevant.
Yep. Okay, based on that discussion, is there a motion on agenda item number 14?
I move to approve the addition of 4 handheld radios to Todd Mission. BFD to be added to Grimes County's radio count.
Is there a second?
I'll second motion.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 14 by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 15, Grimes County Clerk Vanessa Brzezinski, consider and take action to approve a contract for scanning, indexing, and preservation of county clerk records with data preservation solutions, and authorize the county judge as signatory. See attachment number 15.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Okay, so this is a proposal, and by the way, Mr. John Rickerby with TPS is here. If you have any questions, he's here to assist me today. So this is a scanning project. Part of my records archive plan was to get the marriage record scanned and also the City of Navasota records that we acquired earlier this year. So it's a two-part project. So I brought some samples with y'all today because I want y'all to see, you know, the condition of these records and the importance of having them preserved. So the proposal includes scanning, indexing, and preservation. So the first thing we have is marriage licenses. And these are original marriage licenses from the 1800s. And they go all the way up to the early 1900s. I have 20 drawers like this full of marriage licenses. And they're handwritten in ink, and they're very valuable. And they're getting deteriorated, and they're being stored folded, which causes the paper to start to deteriorate where the creases are.
What's dropping do to them?
Nothing, I hope. And so in this proposal, we're going to flatten them out. He's going to scan them, or his company is going to scan them, and then treat them with a chemical that will stop the erosion on the paper, keep it from aging, and then put them in plastic sleeves, and we're going to have them bound, put in books. So the scans will be available online. The books will be available for anyone that wants to see them, but they'll be preserved in these books, and they're acid-free sleeves so that they won't deteriorate any further. So, again, I have 20 drawers full of these.
So like, just on marriage licenses, would those be opened and put in the sleeve where people then don't have to,
They don't have to touch them.
okay.
They can
They
open
can see
them
it, flip
and
it.
look at them without having to handle them physically, yes, yes.
And there's not a concern with the chemicals in those sleeves or the petroleum products they're made out of deteriorating the record, sir?
No, those are special sleeves that acid-free and protect the records.
Okay.
Okay. The second thing is the marriage books, okay? And so we have about 40 marriage books, but these are the older books, okay? And so this one is book H. This is the very first one that we have. And as you can see, it's very yellow, very old, very fragile. It's even got tape. It's all handwritten. But these are our early marriage records going back to 1850 and beyond.
Do those books coincide with these drawers of records?
Some
or-
of them do, yes, sir. Some of these books here do have these records in them.
Okay.
But for some reason, at the time, we didn't give them their license. For some reason, we kept them. But at some point, we started giving them to them. So these are very valuable to the county and need to be preserved. So these books here that I have with me will be scanned and treated, put in sleeves so the pages will not deteriorate. And then we'll put them in new books. And I believe there's a total of, correct me if I'm wrong, John, I think there's a total of 10 books we're gonna do.
What was it, 12 trays?
There was 20 trays of these. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then there's 2 more, so I have an option A and an option B. Option A has 8 books plus these drawers. Option B includes 2 additional books, but that adds about another $15,000 to the proposal. So I've, actually let me hand you the numbers.
You gave us a packet. Is it in that packet?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I did go get bids from other companies because I just didn't want to get one bid. So this company had the lowest bid, and I reached out to my county clerk community, and I got many highly recommendations for this company. They've all been very pleased with their service and recommend them.
And Vanessa, this is a DIR contract, is that right?
Yes.
Right. And you didn't ask for my 2 cents worth, but what she's just said to you is what you want to see when somebody is proposing a contract, obviously, for,
Yes, their
significant
DIR
amount of
contract
money.
number is on the face of the proposal.
Okay. DIR means it's technology that's been essentially subjected to process by the state of Texas, such that you don't have to do competitive bids on this. Doesn't mean you can't, you could choose to. What I just meant to say was, what Ms. Brzezinski is saying is, having shopped it and having looked around, that's the elected official's job. It's not necessarily your job to micromanage what they do in their office.
Right.
It's a huge expenditure, and obviously you need to be consented, or ask for your consent, especially if we're using one of those accounts that requires your approval. But this is the kind of shopping that you want to see, even if it is something that doesn't have to be subjected to competitive bids. It always seems silly to me when folks have come and asked for approval and said, I've gone with my gut and with the first place that I went to. Well, you, in your personal life, wouldn't buy a TV and not shop it a little bit, I wouldn't think. Maybe you would, Judge, I don't know, but I would.
I don't watch TV.
One one other question. Vanessa, which account are you planning on paying for these out of?
Okay, so we have, and thank you for doing this, by the way. Mary Nichols passed out a sheet for y'all. So we have two funds. We have Fund 21, which is our records management fund. And then we have Fund 54, which is our records archive fund. So, we can take the money out of either one because this is records management and the books are our archives. So if one fund is not enough to cover the entire project, I would think that we can use funds from the other one, correct, Mary?
Well, I wasn't prepared on that particular question. My concern was that in Fund 54, where you can do your archiving,
Yes, ma'am.
because so much was spent last year,
Right.
you don't have anything left in there except, I think we budgeted you $78,000 for expenditures for this year, and I don't know if you had any
No.
projects lined up for that.
Well, that's what this is. That's what this is. Yes, ma'am.
So $78,000 would be all that you would have available in Fund 54.
Right.
And then, you should have, at the end of the year, you should have $232,000 left over in records management.
That's if I spend all that was budgeted, the $69,939. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying the most you can spend out of Fund 54 for archiving is the $78,118.93.
Right.
Okay? Then what I'm saying is you've got $80,000 budgeted in this year
Yes.
in your records management.
Right.
But if you receive in all the revenue that is projected to come in with your expenses and the other $45,000 expense there, you would still have $232,000 available in that fund.
Okay, so would that money be available if necessary to cover?
It's certainly fine for the records management, but I know that archive fund was set up specifically to do archive.
Right, right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I just wanted to show you just a couple more of these books and the condition of them.
Ms. Vanessa,
Yes, ma'am.
can I ask a question while we're on
Sure,
this,
sure,
on
yeah.
this subject? So, on the sheet you gave us, and it says tax/AC records, is that the tax assessor?
That's
Okay.
the money that y'all allocated for the tax assessor to use to have some of her records scanned.
In the 2020 budget. So what I was about to say is, so Fund 21 is a shared records management?
Well, technically, no, they just made an exception. It's only supposed to be used for county clerk funds.
Up until what, January of this year?
After January 1, it can only be used for county clerk.
Okay.
use.
So even with that being budgeted for the tax assessor and what she has budgeted for the 2020 of 80,000 in there, that's going to leave her a fund balance of 232. So according to what, if I'm following you correctly, you're going to take your 80,000 that we budgeted for 2020 and your 118 over here to make.
And I've done the math on that
But
handout I
it's-
gave you. Yes, ma'am.
But it's still gonna leave you, the total, even if you with option B, you'll have something left.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So if we go with option B, there'll still be money left in there, but if we go with option A, there's a little bit of a deficit, which could be made up from what's in the balance, but,
It would be a
you know,
budget.
it's gonna be a long-term process. This is about a 6-month project? And so I wanna concentrate on getting the marriage licenses done first, because to me, that's, a very important thing. And then all the records we got from the city of Navasota, none of that has been scanned. And it's all in book form. And so that is gonna all have to be scanned.
Well, Did you have any other projects that you were looking at for the 80,000 that you budgeted?
Yes, my plats. And that's the next item on
Oh,
the
okay.
agenda. Yes, ma'am.
I know I shouldn't ask, but the city hadn't offered to give you any money, right?
Well, I haven't asked, but I guess it doesn't hurt to
I
ask.
think we asked that question a while back,
Yeah.
when we realized what we
Would you call-
did.
Would you call this and let them know this, our county attorney wants to know?
I'm
if
looking
they're
at
willing
Commissioner
to-
Cox. I'm looking at Commissioner Cox.
What's that?
I'm looking at you.
I'll be glad to call anybody you need for me to call, Judge.
Does this, now I see plats on here, but this is not right now.
We're just talking about marriage records
The
and
options.
the ones
Okay,
highlighted
I
in
see the
yellow.
options.
Yes, ma'am. The marriage records in the city of Navasota. Now, there's other records that he gave me quotes for that's not included, just because, you know, for budgetary reasons, it's gonna have to wait till next budget year. But if we could at least get these two things done.
Now, if you go with the plat options, where is the remaining balance? We would have to do a budget amendment.
Possibly.
So if we went with option A, we don't have to do a budget amendment.
Correct. Correct. And like I said, those two books aren't as critical as these other books, so if we put them off
The next year.
till next year. They do still need to be scanned, but they don't necessarily have to be preserved. That's where the cost comes in, when you're getting the books redone. The scanning is not as big of a cost as having the actual book redone.
Is there any cost savings if it's done at the same time while they're here? Is there a
Well, I would
cost
think,
saving?
as far as scanning goes, to get as much scanned at one time, because my goal is to get all the marriage records scanned.
Okay, the difference between option A and option B, is that just the
Just those
additional
two,
plats?
no, this has nothing to do with plats, this is just books. It's two additional marriage books that I would like to have restored, but they can wait if we have to wait on those two.
Okay.
They'll still get scanned,
Well,
they just won't get preserved.
I'm showing that there's like only about $13,000 difference between the
Yeah,
two.
that's it.
But then once she adds in the options, then she's less what's been budgeted for 2020. So if she went with option A, she can still do the two plat, or one of the plat options. And perhaps wait till next year to do the two extra books. Other than that, we'd have to make a budget amendment. Did she give you this sheet?
Oh, I gave one to Judge, I didn't have any more, I'm sorry, they're looking at. Preferably, when they're in the scanning process, correct me if I'm wrong, Don, but once they've got the book, they have to take it apart to scan it. So it just only makes sense that once they've got the book and it's taken apart, to go ahead and finish the process and have it put in the sleeves and have it restored.
So the two books, they won't be taken apart unless you have to, right?
Right.
Right, right. And some of these books have already been restored. These are just ones that haven't.
Are any of these people still alive?
I don't know.
That's not meant to be
These-
funny, but it might come up in probates or something, or
Sure.
wills.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing probably not. Most of these are they got married in the 1890s, so yeah.
Yeah, they're probably
They're
gone.
probably long gone. But my goal is to have them scanned so that when people want to do their research,
Yeah.
they can find them. And preserve them so that they don't deteriorate any further.
Just to be clear, so these are our marriage record books.
Yes, these are
And
our
the-
marriage records.
And the vital statistics that we got from the city of Navasota, you have that amount broken out separate.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that all of the,
That's
information
all
we
of the
received?
books that, yes, ma'am. And in the proposal, it lists each book individually and how many pages it is and how much it will cost to have it scanned and indexed. There's 13 birth records and 4, 5 death records, 6 death, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 death books. It's just birth and death records from the city of Navasota. But some of those also go back pretty far. And they're willing to start on this as soon as possible. Mr. Rickerby, did you want to say anything about your company?
I can just say a couple words if you'd like.
Could I get you to come to the podium, please, sir? And if you would, identify yourself.
Yes, my name is John Rickerby, and I'm with Data Preservation Services. Our offices are based out of Irving, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. All the work that is going to be done on these records will be done in our offices by us, and so basically we take great care in providing good security, good handling and care with these records. We have substantial experience. We have some employees that go back 50 years in handling this type of records, and we've been doing this for quite a while. So we will take good care, and as was mentioned, we do this all over the state of Texas, and this is the kind of work that we specialize in. We don't do commercial work. We focus on government agencies, particularly the county and district clerk offices, predominantly some tax assessors. Thank you.
Thank you.
And they will do this as a bill as we go. So like he'll come pick up maybe 2 or 3 books and have them done and then bring them back. That way all of our records are not gone at one time. And then as we go, so it'll be billed in increments. It won't be a one-time payment. That's correct.
Correct. Everything is billed as we go.
So that would leave us having to do a budget amendment, if I make a mistake, about 10,000.
If we do the second option.
6, 8, if we do with one
But
of the
that's
options.
assuming that that y'all approve the plat project, which is coming up. So, yes.
Okay.
And we can take care of that if we need to.
Well, I'm of the opinion that we can possibly do something, but I would not prefer to do a budget amendment if we don't need to.
And it's gonna be done in stages, so we may be near that point.
Yes, ma'am. It could be where we might find that we have a little extra in there. Just you know, it's because it's just an estimate. And his figures are just an estimate as well. So it could be, he may get there and find out that it didn't quite take, you know, as long or something. And so his numbers could be lower or could be, you know, hopefully not higher, but, you know, once they actually get in there and start doing the work. But he spent several days going through all of our records and counting and looking at everything. So I'm pretty confident that his proposal is pretty accurate.
So on this particular agenda item, scanning option A would be the option that,
The lesser, the one that's 117,000.
that would prevent us from having to do a budget amendment
Correct.
going forward.
Are you making a motion?
No, I hadn't made one.
Why not?
All right, is there a motion on agenda item number 15?
It's okay. Yeah, go ahead. I make the motion that we stick with scanning option A
Okay.
Second.
of $117,057.56.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem.
Second that.
There's a motion before the court by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Cox, in regards to agenda item number 15 and selecting scanning option A. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Go to agenda item number 16, consider and take action to approve the proposal from Scott Merriman for the scanning and indexing of county plats and the purchase of new plat cabinets, see number 16.
So Commissioners, I know we had talked about maybe waiting till next year to get the plat cabinets, but these plats are really getting torn up and they need to be in sleeves and they're not. And this company has come out and given me a quote it's kind of like a package deal. So they'll come in and scan all of our plats, put them in the computer so that they're searchable, index them, re-index them, put them in new cabinets, because right now the cabinets they're in, they're too close together, they're not protected, they're getting bent up. Plus, with them being scanned, they'll be accessible to the public. So we won't have as many people hopefully coming in and handling these plats, but we still want to make them available to anyone that needs to come see them. And so the proposal is to have what they call stacked cabinets, because we have some plats that are half size, and then we have some plats that are full size. So to save space, the big plats will be at the bottom and the smaller plats will be on the top.
So it's a double, kind of a
It's
double
a
layer
double,
plat?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And he says that they can probably start this in January.
And this is the same company?
Yes, sir. No, this is a different company.
This is a
Scott
different
Merriman.
Okay.
This is a company that I use a lot for restoration for some of my books as well. And I've been doing business with him for a long time, and so has Mr. Pasco.
Now, is this included in the figures that you had
Yes,
budgeted?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Out of that 80,000. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So irregardless, if these are approved, then we're gonna still have to do a budget amendment?
No, ma'am, this is included. This is included
That's
in that
included?
total. Yes, ma'am.
Now, on the scans, is Cold File actually a little bit cheaper,
Well,
or are they not doing the same thing?
I don't, they're not gonna, they weren't gonna do the same thing. They were just gonna come in and scan them. They weren't gonna put them in the sleeves or
Okay.
put them in the cabinets or anything like that, yeah.
I do. It's hard for me to talk about buying new plat cabinets when we have some other issues coming up that may. If we're talking about building a new building, we may just be throwing good money after bad about buying plat cabinets at this point.
Will those would transfer
Well,
over?
oh,
right?
most definitely. It'll save space in my office and have a better storage option for what I have now. And if and when we do get into the new building, they'll be able to be just moved right over.
And plus, the funds that she's using cannot be used towards the building.
Yeah, these are restricted funds that can only be used for archiving, so I've got the money, I might as well use it for something that needs to be done.
It's not like you can use it for something else.
Sir?
It's not like you can use it for something
No,
else.
that's correct, yes, sir. And these cabinets will be enclosed, they won't be open like, the ones I have now are just stand in, there's no door or anything, they're
Right.
just open to the elements. These new cabinets will have actual doors that you can close so they won't get dust. And plus they'll have those protective sleeves to keep them from getting bit and torn and yellowed and aged. And this proposal will, he says, he estimates we have 750 plats. And with these new cabinets, I'll have space for about, what did he tell me? A couple hundred more. Which at this rate, we've been getting a lot. So that probably wouldn't take too long to fill those up. All 4 cabinets will hold a total of 800 plats, so I only have room for 50 more.
All your replats in the same cabinet, or same, you're kept in the same place?
Yes. Although we do have some older ones that I have found that's back in the vault. And I think Mr. Lowry has some as well.
I was just pointing out for the Commissioners Court, every time you approve a replat, you need more space.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. So we're running out of room already, so these new plats will give us the space for those.
And this was something you already budgeted for in the
Yes, ma'am.
2020?
Yes, ma'am, and this is also part of the archival plan that I presented to y'all earlier this
Right.
year.
If there's no further discussion, I move that we approve the proposal with Scott and Merriman for the scanning and indexing of county plats and purchase a new plat cabinet.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 16 by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. Is there further discussion on item 16? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're gonna hold you to that 6 months because we're tired of talking about preservation and we want to get it done. All right, Road and Bridge Engineer Harry Walker, number 17, consider and take action to approve the replat of King Oak subdivision, section 1, that combines lot 143, 2.953 acres, and lot 144, 1.25 acres into one lot to be redesignated as lot 143-R for 4.203 acres. That is the same information that we had in our public hearing this morning.
That's
Has
correct.
anything changed, sir?
Not in the last hour.
Okay.
So everything's in order with this replat. We're recommending that it be approved as submitted.
I move to approve the replat of King Oak subdivision, section 1, that combines lot 143 and lot 144 into redesignated lot 143-R.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Mallett on agenda item number 17, a second by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? I would like to know, is there a fee associated with these replats?
There is a platting fee that we charge. Yes, sir.
So when they replat that, we charge that
Yes.
fee? What is that amount?
150, David?
Minimum of 150
Okay,
on the
150.
acreage. Anything up to 10 acres is $150, and that's not including filing fees.
Okay, so filing fees out of the county clerk's office is an additional charge?
Yes, sir.
And how much is that?
It's about $200.
How much?
$200?
So for somebody to do a replat, it costs about $350? And that money goes to where?
Advertising.
Ms. Nichols? Where does that, where, that's all right. When they do the county clerk's fee and they do the subdivision coordinator fee for replats, it's about $350. Where does that go?
Some it goes back into the subdivision, which now it'll be going back into Road and Bridge. And then what is charged out of her office, it'll go into one of her accounts.
Does it go into these dedicated funds that we've been talking about?
Do you know, Janice, on that?
I don't believe so. Those are filing fees or court costs that are paid
Okay.
for records management or archive. That's typically, I think it's civil litigation or somebody that files. It may be part of the recording. I don't know. It's broken down that it is part of, I think it's part of civil filing. I don't know that it's part of a criminal case. But those are designated, maybe part of, it's not part of, is it part of recording?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Part of
If we
recording and
record
part of
it-
civil cases.
Yes.
Goes in the archive, part of it goes in the archive, part of it goes in records management.
Yes, sir.
And you have to advertise, right?
Yeah, the part that comes to Road and Bridge goes to defray the advertising costs and our processing and handling costs.
I saw
And
your
the-
advertising.
And the only reason we advertise is we're mandated by the state to do
We're
so.
required to for replats.
That's
Yes, sir.
mandated.
Mandated.
Okay. They like spending our money without our approval. And I'm not necessarily saying we need to raise the rates on this, but if you're gonna have to buy more plat cabinet, I mean, what's one cabinet cost?
Oh,
I know you have that.
yeah. $4,200 for
Yeah.
the big one and $3,800 for the small one.
So that's a fair amount of money. And if that holds 400 records, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So,
And Judge, Mr. Walker's in the process of reviewing and revising and refining the subdivision regs that we have now.
yes, sir.
Could be part of that. There was a bill this last session that changed a lot of what we can and can't do in subregs, so I don't remember if there was any effect on replats, but he and I will certainly be having that conversation, and I
Okay.
suspect he'll be presenting revised regs to you within the next few months.
Because I know one of the updates is that we've got to act and make a decision within 30 days or it's automatic, is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Are they still charged the fees on an automatic?
They are charged the fees up front. I don't think there's a refund of the
Okay.
fees if
If
it gets
it
approved.
goes to an automatic approval,
Yes, sir.
because we didn't get things done in time.
Right.
We have to rebate half of the cost of the filing fees,
Really?
the plating fees. yeah.
So you're not going to be late on them, is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay.
As long as y'all are willing to schedule special meetings when we need them, we won't be late.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? I kind of dominated that, I apologize, but, I mean, we keep spending money, I'd like to know where that money's replacement funds are coming from. So we have, just to review, we have on agenda item number 17, Commissioner Mallett has made a motion, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 18, authorize the road and bridge to trade in 3 dump trucks that are being replaced. See attachment 18.
Under our new budget, you'll authorize us to purchase 3 new dump trucks, and part of that package, we're proposing to trade in 3 of the old ones. These are all 2008 Mack trucks with anywhere from 172,000 up to 222,000 miles. And we'd like authorization to go ahead and trade those in as part of the purchase of the new trucks.
What capacity are these?
These are the large trucks.
12,
16.
16?
12, 16 yard trucks.
What are you going to replace them with?
Same thing.
Same thing. Are they going to be yellow also?
No.
Nope.
Those are the little trucks.
I know.
The colored ones are the little trucks. We're gonna have a yellow crew and a brown crew now.
Gotcha.
I move to authorize the trade-in of 3 dump trucks that are being replaced.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 18 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 19, consideration and possible approval of waterline installation permit for Wixon Creek SUD on CR 186. See attachment number 19.
Wixon Creek is proposing to install a 1-inch service line on County Road 186. It's not really close to anything, it's nearly a mile off of 3090. But it is just a service line for new residents at that location.
Mr. Mallett, that's up on your end again, isn't it?
I believe that's Commissioner Dobianski.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, is it?
It is,
Okay.
yeah.
Well then, Commissioner Dobianski, would you be in the mood to make a,
I will.
all right?
I move that we approve the water line installation permit for Wixon Creek subdivision on County Road 186.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 19 by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 20, consideration and possible approval of waterline installation permit for Wixon Creek SUD on, what's it called?
Racy Road.
Racy Road, attachment number 20.
This is also a service line installation on Racy Road, close to the intersection with John Rice. Again, we are recommending approval of this permit.
I move to approve the water line installation permit for Wixon Creek SUD on Racy Road.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 20 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there any further discussion? Why not Rosy Road versus Racy Road?
It's long and straight and flat, and we can drive really fast.
Okay.
That's what I was told.
I can't argue with that, so that R-O-E-S-E is Racy Road. Gotcha. Okay, did you want to add speed bumps to your motion? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 21, consideration and possible approval of an interlocal agreement with the town of Anderson related to Hurricane Harvey grant projects. See attachment number 21.
Previously, the court has approved the same form of this interlocal agreement with several of the other small communities. Anderson was a little bit slow in getting their interlocal agreement back to us, but it is the same document that we previously approved. It basically allows the county to do work for the town of Anderson related to the Hurricane Harvey grant projects. We have not heard yet if they have actually been approved, but they have submitted an application. It's similar to the standard interlocal agreement that we have, but it, again, has certain specific provisions that the GLO wanted to see. The county attorney had the opportunity to look at these when they were originally prepared. It basically allows us to provide labor and equipment to the town, and they will pay for the materials similar to our standard interlocal agreement.
And they do have a new mayor since the last interlocal agreement, so.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, this will not replace the previous interlocal agreement. This will be in addition to, because it's tailored specifically to the GLO grant project.
Right.
I think we've approved 3 others of these already.
If there's no further discussion, I move that we approve the interlocal agreement with the town of Anderson related to Hurricane Harvey grant projects.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 21 by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item number 22. Consider selection of an engineering firm to perform design of 2016 GLO CDBG grant project and authorize negotiations of engineering services agreement. See attachment number 22. Mr. Walker.
As you're aware, Grimes County was selected for a grant by the or approved for a grant by the GLO related to the 2016 flood disaster. The selection committee has solicited statements of qualification from engineering firms related to the design of those improvements. The committee being Commissioner Mallett, Commissioner Dobianski, and myself. We received 7 submittals after going through and preparing rating sheets on each of the firms. The selection committee interviewed the 3 top-rated firms. Those firms being HDR Engineering, Strand and Associates, and Mitchell Morgan. After the interviews, the selection committee has recommended to the court that we enter into negotiations with HDR Engineering. For purposes of full disclosure, HDR is the firm that Grimes County lured me away from when I came to work here. Want that to be out there on the record.
But you're no longer on their payroll and have not
I'm
been.
no longer in their payroll and have no further financial relationship with them.
Fair enough.
And
Do they owe you anything?
Dwayne Barrett with HDR is here also. He will be the project manager, and I'm sure he'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
If there are no questions, I move that we approve the engineering firm of HDR for the GLO 2016 grant project.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 22. Agenda item number 22, we have a motion by Commissioner Dobianski. We have a second by Commissioner Cox. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 23, consideration and possible action regarding the sale or exchange of property being a portion of Lot 16-2, 17 and 18, Block 26, Town of Viola. It is expected that the court will convene a closed or executive session regarding this item as authorized by Section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code, deliberation regarding real property.
Are we gonna go into executive session, or
Is
do we
that the
wanna?
preference?
Or do we wanna
If-
skip ahead
If we
and come
are,
back?
I would prefer to move this to the end of the agenda. or
Okay.
end-
We will take agenda item number 23 and we will move it to agenda item number 30-A. With that, Road and Bridge report, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Crews have been busy. I'm pleased to report we were able to complete the 174 paving project that we just started earlier this year. This was first course only. I think we got the work finished the last day that the weather was warm enough to allow us to do asphalt work. Very pleased to have that done as we're heading into the winter months. It may be a while before we're able to come back and do the second course on that, again, because of the temperature limitations on the chip sealing. But at least for now, through the winter, those folks won't be driving in the mud and the slop. Elsewhere, we've finished our paving program for the season. We're moving into more of just rock work on the roads, grading, ditch work, those kind of things. So you'll see a shift in the activities for the next few months. The elsewhere, besides the work the crews are doing, Magellan has started to process the final completion of their pipeline restoration. We've started receiving requests for release of their crossings on the different county roads, and we're starting to inspect those. They're coming in one at a time, so it'll take a while to go through, but as they complete the work at each location, they're giving us an opportunity to come out and inspect the site, make sure it's restored properly. So the end is in sight for Magellan, and I think everybody will be glad when we get to that point.
Do they have any special requirements going on the Navasota River or with those platforms that washed down?
They are in the process of removing all of the mats that they had in there.
Right.
And they've taken thousands of them out. Of course, there were special requirements because of the wetlands issues in that location. But basically, they're going in on the private property and downriver and trying to retrieve all the mats they can find. I think they're pretty well finished with that area, from what they've told me. But yeah, it's been a mess over there.
I just didn't want them leaving some of our citizens in a lurch as we're taking care of roads, but they also had that, I don't know what kind of obligation, but I know that caused a significant problem.
It did, and that was one of the first areas they started on, was going in cleaning up that area.
Okay.
And I believe their process is that when they're done with all the restoration on each parcel, they're going back and asking the property owners to sign off on the restoration, which would include removing all their materials, equipment, regrading the site, putting, vegetation, grass work down and everything. But again, those are private property issues.
Right.
Our interest is the restoration of the county right-of-way, making sure that the crossings they had are properly restored, the ditches are regraded, and they will also be seeding those locations.
Thank you.
In some instances where the property owners have not requested it, they are also giving us the culverts and more rock that was put down on those crossings. We are receiving some benefit out of that.
Good, thank you.
The maintenance bond project, as you're aware, we authorized a change order at the last session. Unfortunately, delays in doing all that threw them off schedule, so they haven't started back yet, but they will be coming back on site shortly. And then the 202 bridge replacement being done in the 2015 CLO grant is scheduled to start December 1st. We gave them some extra lead time because of the long ordering process on some of their precast pilings and beams.
Sure.
Once they get all their precast elements in hand, the construction should go pretty quickly. We give them a 6-month contract time for that work. And then elsewhere, I've added the subdivision coordination items to the report. Currently, we have 3 plats that are being processed. The King Oak Tree plat that you just saw, a small subdivision on County Road 152, and another one on County Road 220, which would be phase 1 of a larger development. And then the Anderson Ridge subdivision that was approved several months ago is now under construction, and we've been monitoring the construction out there, make sure that everything is being done properly. Any questions?
I don't think so, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've been at this an hour and 32 minutes. I would propose we take a nice long 6-minute break. People get comfortable and then come back. Conversation. If you're on email, you might want to get to that point, that says I love you, hit send, and be done with it.
It was a line.
I understand. I understand. All right, we're going to reconvene Commissioners Court. It is 20 minutes till the hour of 11 o'clock. We're at agenda item number 24. Consider and take action on resolution ballot for election for appraisal district board of directors. See attachment number 24. Commissioners, it's my understanding through Mark Beneke over at the tax office that we have an obligation to confirm or change out election of appraisal district board members, board of directors members, and there is a form that we have. And also, if you'll notice on the 3rd page of that form, it determines how many votes each of the subdivisions within the county are allotted. City of Anderson, 2, City of Bedice, 3 votes, City of Iola, 2 votes, City of Navasota, 210. Grimes County has 1,425. Anderson, Shiro, CISD, 785. Iola ISD, 377. Madisonville, CISD, and you might ask, what's Madisonville doing in there? A portion of our county in the northeast corner is serviced by Madison CISD. Navasota ISD, which is the biggest vote number, 1978. Richards ISD is 78, for a total of 5,000. The coming up with these numbers was before my time, but that's according to some formula that I guess the state of Texas has provided the appraisal district and information. So the task before us is to select or to cast our votes And I'm open for help for those of you that have been through this before or from our county attorney.
I think the idea was these folks were from across the spectrum of
Right.
locations in the county. And
Right.
that the county wanted representatives from across that spectrum. And
Correct.
so I think the votes were essentially equalized for everybody on the list.
Okay.
Then you allow the other folks, the other entities to maybe vote for the folks that live or work in their area. And so you kind of end up being sum zero. You kind of just are awash with your votes. You could choose to do differently, but that's what I recall has been done previously.
And maybe I'm the one that gummed up the works because all of the incumbents were talked to by Mark Beneke, and they were all willing to serve, but I had 2 additional names that I added to the list, and that's not to sway the commissioners. But the 2 names that were added to the list was Carol Garnett, who is a ranch owner, and I believe Carol's residence is down off of 2445, that area, and borders also along FM 1774. The other one that I talked to, and she said she'd be willing to serve, was Diana Westmoreland. I think most of y'all know Diana from her public participation, but she also has some background in real estate. She is retired, but she does have background in real estate and things of that sort. And Diana is off of Highway 105 between, I'll say, Stoneham and Navasota on the south side. That's where she lives, so that's kind of that area. Both Diana and Carol are kind of what I would call, well, not kind of what I would call, they're defined as rural landowners within the county. So I don't know all of the people on the board. I do know 1, 2, 3 of the others that were previously serving, and I'm not trying to bust anything up. I'm just giving us some additional choices.
Well, like he spoke to previously, what we would do is just take the number of votes we had and divide it among candidates.
The 5 that we choose,
Yes.
but since they only need 5, but there's 7 on the list, like I said, I'm the kind of the one that gummed it up or changed it, but, and I'm not saying any of the 5 that are currently on there aren't good candidates. I'm just giving you some additional options. You know, I kind of like to change things up on occasion, as you found out.
But you haven't spoken to any of the other people that were on there?
No, ma'am. They were confirmed by Mark Beneke, and that's what I asked him. I said, the ones that are currently serving, are they still in agreement to serve? And he said, yes, I've talked to all of them. And I said, okay, can I add additional names? And he, well, yes, you can. So I talked to these 2 ladies and asked would they be willing to serve, and both of them said yes, they would. So I submitted those. We as a courts approved those names to be put on this list, and that was submitted. But now we have an obligation to make the votes and get it back to the tax office, because they have to have it posted, registered, or whatever by the end of this year.
And
Do
just to
you
be-
have a suggestion?
Your memorandum, the memorandum from Mark to you indicates that you can cast your votes for one candidate or to as many as you want. So you don't have to pick 5. You could put an equal number for 7. That's, I don't know if that was what you were questioning, how to handle
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Okay, well, previously, when there were
Yeah.
5, we just did even number, or the court did even number for each
Yeah.
one, unless there was one extra that somebody got with the coin flip or whatever. But this memorandum to you indicates that you can allot your, all of your votes to 7, divided by 7, and be shed of it. If you choose to do that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we do.
Yeah, I'm in agree with that.
I have 2 that would be willing to divide 5,000, or whatever our vote is, by 7 and allocate that amount to each one.
I would like to see some new members on there.
I have one commissioner I'd like to see some new members on there. Commissioner Mallett, your thoughts?
They change periodically, it's just not all the time, but they do change. So I'm okay with 7 equal.
Well, that would be a majority, so Commissioner, with your permission, we'll divide it by 7 and allocate that amount to each one of the 7 on the ballot.
Well, it comes out to like 203.57, so.
203, and how many left over?
Well, you got 7 there.
You need a
so-
motion on that?
I think it would be appropriate to have a motion. Let me see what our wording on the agenda is real quick.
It says resolution ballot, but I don't see a resolution.
Yeah, consider and take action.
It is a resolution.
Yeah, we're going to consider take action on a resolution ballot, so this would be our resolution ballot. And this is we're still on the 13th.
Yes. Well, I'd like to make the motion that we accept the resolution and ballot for the election and appraisal district board of directors and take our votes and divide them equally amongst the candidates, 7 candidates.
And could I add to that, if it won't divide equally, which we know it won't, do you want the extras to go to the 2 that you proposed, in the order that you proposed?
I would like that.
It'll just be a couple.
Yeah.
With the extra going to the 2 extra candidates we proposed.
If that meets with the approval of the court. Okay, so we have that motion. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Walker. I have a motion on agenda 24 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So, Madam Auditor, you're good with numbers. You will designate,
It'll be $203 per person, with Carol and Diane getting 205.
thank you very much. All right. And then Sheree, I'll give that to you, and if you will, get that over to Mr. Beneke. We are now on agenda item number, shouldn't we limit the number of agenda items?
That's one we need to go back to once a week.
No, we don't. 25. Discussions, retract that comment. Discuss and determine when to use tax exempt status. This came up. Mary, in our office, we were having some conversation, and I know that you want us to use tax exempt vendors, and I understand that, but we had a situation where our tax exempt vendor was, I'm just gonna say $15, and if we paid tax to a vendor, we were gonna get the same item, tax included, for like $8. And maybe the distinction wasn't that much, but it was about a $5 difference.
Any vendor should accept our.
Ma'am?
Any vendor should accept our tax exempt status. I mean, it's a matter of us.
Quill takes our exempt. Does Amazon take our exempt status?
Do the vendors have a choice?
No.
I don't think they have a choice.
They don't have a choice.
Well, it was on the phone holder for Andrew. And he told me, he said, Judge, if I go through our tax exempt vendor, it's this much. And he said, but I can buy it here for this much less, including tax.
I think it was eBay. Was it eBay?
I don't remember. Maybe it was. But then I went to my upper left-hand drawer and I said, I don't use mine, will this fit yours? And he said it did, so that solved the problem. We didn't have to buy anything from anybody, but that won't be the last time we come up with that situation. So all vendors should accept our tax exempt status.
Yes, now they are going to require us to send them a copy of it and to fill out a W-9 for them. And that's, that's not a problem. We do that anytime it's requested. Anytime we
Okay.
have a new vendor,
Okay,
we contact them, make them send us a W-9, then we send them back something, and they have to go online and do a $12.95.
okay.
And so, and that just lets us know that they're good with the state.
All right. Well, I'm good with that answer. I just wanted to make sure that we stay in compliance, but as we stay in compliance, it doesn't cost us extra monies to do so.
Right.
Okay. And they were just concerned about having to get yelled at by your office, Madam Treasurer. So you got the fear out there, so, all right.
That's good.
Commissioners, do you have any other thoughts or comments on that?
I have a comment that I want to make. When I was working for the state, we bought through the state contracts, and they had, you didn't have to go through bids or anything. I was purchasing a skill saw, and I ordered one, and they said it's gonna take 6 months to get it. These vendors are supposed to have this on inventory when you order it. I went to Lowe's and got the same saw for about $70 cheaper. So we put in a policy of credit cards to allow the local principals and administrators to purchase locally with the credit card and save money.
But Lowe's would recognize the tax
Sure,
exempt
sure,
status. Okay,
yeah.
okay. And I think we're okay with that, right?
That's right.
Okay, fair enough. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll go to agenda item 26, discuss, review, and approve some or all items proposed by PGAL regarding the proposed county justice center that is currently being designed for Grimes County.
What you're on.
Commissioners, I believe each of you might have a hard copy in front of you. Commissioner Cox, do you have one?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Commissioner Mallett, do you have one? Okay. And since this is my agenda item, let me give reason for having Michael from PGAL presenting to the group is because I know we've had a building committee throughout this project. I have no concern that the building committee hasn't given their best effort all the way through. I just felt we were at a point where all the commissioners and the county judge need to be involved in this final decision-making and also on some of the areas of options or things we need to be taking a look at, that we all have input at this point, because in the past, we've had Commissioner Mallett and Commissioner Cox serving on the building committee representing the court, but because we didn't make an open meetings agenda for every meeting, that did not allow my presence or Commissioner Dobianski or Commissioner Walker. So it's not a lack of trust or confidence, it's just a little bit of a lack of information.
Move it closer.
Can
You
you put
need
it
a
on,
table. This
can you
is-
put it on there?
That'd be too
I
close,
think
I
it'd be
think.
too close.
We've got that table that,
There's one in the hallway, I don't know if it's being used in there.
We can use a rolling cart.
maybe when we get to new one.
I'm gonna get you one if you want to see. I have
See if I
one.
can find one at A&M.
There you go. I got one out of somebody's yard and spray painted. Had an ant bed on it.
Okay. And at some point, we need to officially name this building. I don't know if it's the Grimes County Justice Center or Justice and Business Center or,
Administrative,
Administrative.
administration, justice and administration.
And
Like
then-
I say, we need to figure out at some point what we're gonna name this.
What do you?
I'll, in the podium, introduce myself first.
Thank you.
I'm Michael Lloyd with PJAL Architects, and if I may,
Absolutely. And if you will, try to speak up enough so that this microphone here will pick up your comments.
certainly. So, this is a briefing of where we are on the design and bid and procurement of the courthouse justice center. So, this presentation is to give a general overview of the design features, as well as the bid process and where we are, as well as some details about some of the bid items that were discussed. So this is a front view of the courthouse, looking from the parking lot. The main entry element right here is the secure entry, and then the non-secure entry is on the right-hand side.
And the sheriff's office is in that clump of trees on the left-hand side of the picture. Okay, just to orient those in the audience. Oh, there you go.
So here is a general overview. I think you've seen this before. We took some artistic license in the background.
Love the mountains.
A little hillier than we have in the current existing, but this shows the jail and the courthouse with the parking lot. You'll see the area to the right, open field for future expansion. Sorry, Ms. Walker.
No problem.
Here's another front view. So this is a floor plan, and the different departments shown by the color coordination, color key there. So as a reminder, there's the main functions. There's a county court at law. There's a district court, and then there's a multi-purpose court, which will handle commissioners court, grand juries, and JP. So it's a shared multi-purpose court. There's a central corridor down the center that is the secure side, and the corridor on the right is the non-secure side. So generally, on the right-hand side, if you're coming to the treasurer or the district clerk or the county clerk, you would come into the building unscanned. Or if you come into a court case, you would go through security.
Can I just ask, when you look at this building committee mainly, why is the district attorney's footprint so big?
That was the space they requested.
Kind of staff driven.
Staff, the amount of staff they had in there, as well as areas for, I guess, secured storage for evidence.
Okay.
And it also has crime victims in there.
Okay, so Miss Brenda's in there with her business? Okay. But there's no probation or anything in there?
No.
Okay. All
Now,
right.
I think a couple of more offices were put in there for the possibility of growth in that office.
Yeah, there's some modest growth in all these.
Okay.
So for the floor finishes, there was a question about what finishes go where. Generally speaking, the yellow you see is all porcelain tile floor finishes, which are in the public areas, which would be easier to maintain. The blue and the dark blue are luxury vinyl tile and VCT, and the gray would be carpet. The red is the holding areas, which is epoxy resin flooring, and just the plain white would be a sealed concrete in rooms like a mechanical room, for example.
When you, in the carpeted areas, is that big sheets of carpet, or is that like 2x squares, or what is that?
We have carpet tile planned for those finishes, and the palette on the left is the the finishes that were presented to
Oh,
the
okay.
court review committee.
And then you said, what is it, luxury tile?
Luxury vinyl tile is in the high traffic areas.
Which one in the,
The lighter blue, which is the corridors. So generally speaking, that would be in the corridors to the court suites in the DA's office. Then on the public entry side, all the lobbies coming to the different clerk's office or tax assessor or treasurer.
what is in the city hall, the city of Navasota? Is that luxury tile or is that
They have terrazzo, I believe, in their main lobby.
upstairs in the offices?
I think they have a mixture of carpet.
It's a
been
gray
since I've
tile.
been there.
Okay, all right.
So those are the finishes.
Could you change in luxury vinyl to enduring vinyl or something? You know, I can just see some taxpayer, why in the heck they put luxury vinyl in there?
Well, I guess the name is part marketing, so it's not in the,
Yeah, but that's-
it's cheaper than porcelain.
That's somebody trying to sell it, we're trying to defend it.
Maybe I should say vinyl tile, but it's a vinyl tile plank that is on the bottom right there on the material. It looks like
Okay.
wood.
So it's a plank.
So, yes.
From a maintenance standpoint, Al, did you have any comments or input?
I would like to see less carpet and more ceramic tile because of wear purposes.
Sure.
Are you saying ceramic tile or vinyl tile?
Ceramic.
Ceramic. And where are the places that have the ceramic? Is it the yellow?
The yellow. Porcelain tile. Generally the lobby and the bathrooms.
Okay. That's quite a lot. I mean, it's where they are gonna have it.
Well, the light gray areas in the courtrooms, what are those?
Carpet.
That's carpet. And the dark gray,
It's two different types of carpet. There's two different colors of carpet.
Okay.
So it distinguishes the difference. So generally the court is a different carpet than the offices.
Where's the parquet, the wood?
That parquet is actually a porcelain tile,
Oh, it is.
and that is going down the center line. You can see the squares kind of faintly down the
Okay,
center
so
of the
it's
yellow.
porcelain, but it's made to look like wood.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just to help you out, these squares going up here would be that.
Okay, gotcha.
now I do recall there being a lot of discussion earlier in the budgeting hearing about if you, over at the other building we had a lot of hard surfaces and the echoing, you know, when Judge Laughlin came in, you could hear everything because of so much terrazzo tile in the building. So if the carpet is there for sound,
It certainly helps with the acoustics over a hard surface. So our last committee meeting, it was decided that for the offices, the group wanted carpet for their offices, except for the leading spaces into their offices would be luxury vinyl tile.
Ms. LaFleur?
That was,
Excuse me, I'd just like to make a comment about the courtrooms. We have AG court, correct me if I'm wrong, once a month. And we're gonna pick up gum, we're gonna pick up, I mean, they can trash out the courtroom. And if it's gonna be carpet, it's gonna be hard. And when it's rainy and muddy, they don't know anything about it.
I've said it all before, Diane.
Oh, wow,
And
that's just amazes me
I've
that we.
said this about carpet and it fell on deaf ears. I
That's
mean,
just my
I'm
opinion.
telling you what should be in there because I'm the person that takes care of it.
well, it
But
looks
we
like,
went to carpet.
looks like in your commissioner's courtroom, is there two types of flooring?
yes, ma'am. So the front seating area behind the court rail would be carpet, and then the seating area in the back is the vinyl tile.
Does that help?
Yes, where the You talking about the gallery where the.
Correct. And the idea there was that.
In the commissioner's courtroom, right?
Yeah, would it help any other ones?
It's all carpet.
What's the cost difference?
They're about the same, but it's not too much different. It's really a preference. So carpet in the courtrooms, all the courtrooms we do, they're carpet for acoustics and aesthetics. And we picked in the commissioner's court, since that's a multi-purpose room, that it may be used for different purposes, that the backside behind the rail would be the LVT.
Is that usually where your AG is held?
No,
No.
it's in the district courtroom, but it's the gallery where all the people, well, actually, they all set up in that inside area too, so.
And so you could take the same approach as we did on the commissioner's court, put the gallery in
It would help.
where the general public are.
It would help, but they set up 3 or 4 attorneys in the inside area, and they bring the clients in to discuss their situation with those. So there's a lot of walking in there too, so, I mean, I don't know.
But haven't they generally dumped their gum and clean their shoes by the time they get out of the gallery up to the attorneys? No?
And there's baby bottles and food, stuff that they've gotten out of the vending machine, their papers, and they're messy.
They have no respect for themselves, or they would pick up after themselves, in my opinion.
I'm glad I didn't say that.
We tried that.
Like I said, that was.
Okay, well, let's keep the discussion going.
The next slide shows where we have some wall finishes. So if you look on the bottom, those are the courtroom elevations, and where we have wood walls. So the wall behind the judge is pictured on the left, and it's 85% wood, oak wood. The side elevation you see on the right, there's a bottom wainscot, which is wood, and then vinyl wall covering, and then paint above. The bands are rails, so it's, and the back is same wainscot. There's acoustic panels on the back wall so that doesn't reverb. But we try to take a modest approach. We didn't want to put wood over the entire walls, try to be budget conscious, but then we also wanted to have typical finishes you would expect to see in a courtroom that represents the dignity of the court. So that's the finishes we've got in the bid. The elevation on the top is looking down the corridor, public corridor to the courtrooms. And what you'll see is there's a wood base, a vinyl wall covering on wainscot, then there's a chair rail, and then paint above. And then just at the entry areas, at the doors, we put in wood paneling there. So certainly, again, try to be budget conscious. It's not all wood, it's not all marble like federal courts you might see that we've done in federal court. So we try to be restrained, but also make it a nice space for you. So within the base bid, there is furniture that's provided as part of the general contractor's bid. And the idea was that the base bid furniture would be so that your courtroom on opening day can be fully functioning. So that furniture includes the jury seating, the public pews, the attorney tables and chairs, the judge's chair, the clerk's chairs, as well as the jury deliberation tables and chairs. So that's for the 3 courtrooms. It also includes the 2 high-density storage spaces you see for the clerk spaces, which are pictured in the the white rectangles.
Okay.
So that value, you see, it's about 300,000 of furniture. And that's bid off a state contract pricing.
When you say state pricing, is that TDCJ or is that somebody
You
else?
know, that's state contracts that, I think KI is the brand.
Oh, okay.
We do have these drawings out to the Jail Commission for pricing to get an alternate price, and you can make a decision if that's the approach you want to go. There's certain aspects of having them on board or not that you need to think about, but those numbers should be back shortly, I would think. So this is the site plan. It includes landscaping, irrigation, and some seating areas. We've got landscaping around the courthouse, and we also have landscaping around the perimeter of the swales. You'll see there's an L-shaped hedge between the courthouse and the jail to help block the views. So if you're sitting in, specifically put it there for the jury deliberations, we didn't want them looking out at to the jail and kind of give some privacy from those rooms. So that's what that hedge is. There are some the darker green rectangles are some low-scale ornamental trees, and in front of the entry steps are more shrubs. We tried to keep trees away from the building so leaves wouldn't get on the roof, and Al wouldn't have to deal with getting leaves off the roof. There are perimeter trees. There is a seating area on the front between the jail and the courthouse, and then there's a seating area at the back for the staff that has some pavers. So we find it's important on these public places to give a place for the public, somewhere they can sit if they're not clogging up the lobby, if they have a place to go without going too far away from the building. It's a nice little place for them to sit. And that's included in the bid, and I've got some breakdowns of that. So these are the numbers. So if you look on the left column, we had a commissioner's report meeting on 8/14, and I presented some numbers, some budget numbers, where we had the base bid estimate at 10.5 for the building, what we thought the furnishings would cost, the courtroom furniture at 300, miscellaneous equipment at 200,000, so the subtotal budget was 11. Then put some contingency in there for other costs you may have of 1.1. So looking at a 12.1 budget, that was a number we were thinking of coming up to the bids. We had some ad alternates of 225 budgeted for the road. The base bid does not have the road extension connecting out to the highway. So the low bid.
And that's the connection to 149.
Yes, sir. So the low bid base cost, you take out the furniture, is at 10 million and change. The furnishing just shy of 300,000. So the low bid contractor was at 10.3 million. Their ad alternate cost for the road is 125,000. So all in, 10,455,000 is the low bid. So the right-hand column shows some variances of where we were looking at total project cost and the low bid. So the bottom, I've given you some benchmark numbers, so you have a feel for some other projects that are like in nature of where this project came in. So Fort Bend Courthouse was completed in 18. It was a very large courthouse. And that came in about 307 a foot. If you look where the low bid is at 322. The Blair Police and Courts, we just bid that. That came in at 295, and that Conroe Public Safety Building is similar, came at 350. So I think we're in the right range if, for a project of this nature. If you went to go build a replica courthouse with ornate exterior and domes and things like that, you would see a project cost of 400 and up. So this would be the price range. I think it's come into where we expected a project of this nature to be.
I'm not understanding your variance
Okay.
column.
So it's the left-hand column is where we talked about some budget numbers, and it's the difference between what the low bid is and what the budget is.
Okay, that's the difference, okay.
Yes, ma'am. So this is a bid tab. We received seven bids, and the company names were the second column. Their base bid cost, then the add alternate number 1, which is the road. There was an add alternate number 2 for building controls, but it was a low number, and we're not going to accept that. Add alternate number 2 is our last discussion. So that shows you the total cost of where the bids came in. It was a two-step process. So the first process for the first step was to turn in a bid sheet. And if you see, that's all the numbers. The second was a qualification package, and the bottom 2 contractors did not turn in a qualification package. Presumably they looked at where their number was and said, we're not going to get it, so they didn't submit their quals the next day. So in the right-hand column, 3 firms were interviewed: Collier Construction, Madison Construction, and Weber Commercial. The review committee has scored those, and I'll leave that committee to discuss that. So that's a bid tab. So there's been discussions about other costs that the court needs to consider for this building. Work with Greg Cannon on the top column, the top bracket there of technology costs and what you should budget. So these technology costs would be paid directly by Grimes County. It's not a part of the bid. So you need to, and this would be, I think, traditional in many cases, so that you don't have to get a markup from the contractor on this. You can buy direct. So with the new building, you're going to need new telephones, and that cost includes the licenses, the hardware, the software. And it's, once you change, Greg was explaining to me, once you change the phones in one building as a countywide, you need to change the other phones. So he's identified 138 phones, and that cost is $160. I think in all of these, the 160 and the MDF number, that's his high side number. I think he's in discussions that some of these may go down, but for budget purposes, this is what Greg asked me to put in this spreadsheet. So at the front entry, the sheriff or the constables will have the walk-through metal detectors and the x-ray machines, and those are some budget numbers. There would be 2 of each, and that should be budgeted unless you're going to bring existing equipment over to be used. The servers, Greg has existing servers. They would be relocated. There's going to be some additional licenses that go into the cameras and the wireless access points. So the $30,000 Greg wanted to put in for a licensing budget. And then the MDF, IDF network switches and WAPs. WAPs are wireless access points, so that the Wi-Fi. That's the figure he's got right now. And again, Greg is looking to lower that. And then server UPS is uninterrupted power source would be, we do have a generator, but you want a UPS that will bridge the gap between base power and emergency power, so that when the generator clicks on, there's a period that UPS provides an uninterruptible power source. So those are costs that you need to budget for when you're looking at total project cost.
So when you say total project cost, we need to add 411,000 and 318,000 to the 10-3?
The 418, sorry, the 411 is costs that you certainly were gonna need to spend for your technology
Right,
purposes.
okay.
The next one, complete new department furniture, that's an optional cost.
Okay.
Right now, we have, excuse me, the furniture in the base bid for the courtrooms. The rest of the departments could bring their existing, or I've got a budget here for 318 for other furniture. If you want to replace all the furniture and get brand new furniture for all the departments, that's 318. That's without installation, and generally installation would be another 10 to 12% on top of that. So if it's 300,000, you add 30. But it's not an all or nothing on that 318. You may go by department and say, well, this one department has new stuff, they like their chairs or what have you. This is an all-in number, so it's a discretion by departments to see what furniture they need and which they could relocate with. So this would require certainly more discussions. But I wanted to give you a number if you wanted to budget on the furniture. And this is something that you don't have to decide right now. You could wait the middle of the construction period to see how you feel about your budget 6 months from now, and then you can elect to order the furniture or not so that it's ready for opening day.
I guess what I'm doing in my head is we as a county say we have about 12 million that we can allocate to this project without having to borrow money. So if we put 12 million at the top and then we take out 330,000 off of that, and then whatever we decide on, if we did another driveway, we take that 125 off if you went with the first bid. And I'm just working down in my head until we get to, that's it, we're done, there's no more money left.
Correct.
Or we make some decisions at that point, we need another 200,000, where's 200,000 in what we've spent? What are we willing to swap for swap?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you look at landscaping and irrigation, it's 192,000. When I built my home, I put in landscaping and I put the irrigation in, which was, now I got to take care of it, so I've dug it out mostly. But I've left the irrigation to keep the foundation moist, so I don't have to worry about cracking. Is that irrigation an insurance to keep a foundation of that size to keep it from cracking, or are those two different items?
Well, on this project, our soil was bad, if you remember, and we're scraping all of that bad
Right.
soil off the hill.
Right.
We're doing drilled piers, going down to good soil, and then it's a structural slab. So
Shrink swell.
our slab should be, it's connected to terra firma down there. It's not reacting to a slab on grade movement.
Yeah, okay. So you're not worried about a cracked slab 10 years from now,
No.
whether you have irrigation or not?
Not
Okay,
with a structural slab.
all right.
So this landscaping number is, Mr. Collier, who's with Collier Construction, is in the audience, and I was allowed to ask them for where some of their numbers came in on a couple items. So this is what's in the base bid for landscaping. So it's broken out to the planting, 130, the irrigation, the seeding and hardscape, the areas. So generally speaking, if talking to my landscape architect, if you're looking to value engineer something and you wanted to just have maybe your bang for your buck for the landscaping that's around the courthouse. You see there's a lot of perimeter trees.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a value engineering option, you could get rid of all the trees around the perimeter. And those have an irrigation, just a bubbler drip system on the trees. It doesn't have spray. So you could take a more modest approach, and that's something we could put together a value engineering package and ask the selected contractor to come back with a credit. But I think the one thing we certainly want to keep is a hedge buffer between the courthouse and the jail. And then you would need to decide what you're comfortable with maintenance, if you're going to use some of Todd's guys to maintain. I don't know if you do that with
Well, we have access to the diversion crew currently, but, 4 years down the road, you might have a different sheriff, because my folks aren't gonna do that.
Right.
And I mean,
So,
and I guess the concern, under the trees on that outside perimeter, is that grass, which is then something that needs to be mowed, and, it all looks nice and pretty, but at the end of the day, if diversion crew doesn't do it, then we're gonna have to either hire more people, or we're gonna have to have a contractor come in and do it, and
right, there's certainly going to be maintenance costs on a
Yeah.
project of this nature, and it's just what you're comfortable with. And but there's somewhere between Venetian Gardens and zero that maybe is appropriate for the project.
What is the Mason, where did I see that?
Okay, so the next.
Masonry bond,
So,
masonry bond,
common bond.
common bond.
So, you look in the top right corner, during the interview process, there was a question about the common bond pattern we have designed, is there a way you can economize that by just having running bond? So common bond, every 6 cores, you cut a brick in half, and it gives a pattern. So it's a very Texas historic type brick pattern you would see. In the old days, when it was a load-bearing brick wall, that brick would get turned back and it would tie to the other wall. So it's just a decorative brick pattern.
And the cost on that was $11,000.
$11,000.
Yeah.
Mr. Collier said that would be the value of that if you elected to not have a common bond and just have a running bond. So it's a relatively, the big picture of things, it's a small number.
Yeah.
So this last slide, sorry, it's small, but this is, if all departments got new furniture, this is a price breakdown by department. And again, as we stated before, maybe you think about this later and figure out what furniture you really need. You want new tables and new chairs. I think certainly some of the public counters where we have an exchange counter, the chairs behind where, if I was doing a, coming here, the chair that you would have would probably be new to be the right height and appropriate. So things like that would be some things to think about. There's a big conference room in the tax assessor's suite in the back that we might get a right-sized conference room table and chairs for that to make sure it fits appropriately. So that's a detail, and again, this is all optional. And that's the last slide,
Okay.
Commissioners.
So in your furniture, in your base bid, I'll just take, for example, the county court at law. It says attorney, clerk chairs on rollers, and you have 8. Is that the number proposed?
That would respond to the floor plan and how many staff positions there would be.
So I just heard you say if somebody's behind the counter and the chair need to be the appropriate height, is it included in this base bid?
No, ma'am. But you have some of those same counters right now, so conceivably you could take those chairs with you.
Where will we have them come?
In the hall.
Them are regular office. They have a desk behind that counter. That's a regular desk.
So they stand at those desks, I mean, at the counters, pretty much?
No. No, they sit at their desk. The counter is their desk.
Where you buy license plates?
Yes.
They just reach up.
Right.
Oh, okay. I thought they were standing.
Well, when we were talking
You're more than
furniture, we
welcome.
were talking about mainly just furnishing courtrooms.
Okay.
I'm only in there once a year.
Me too.
So this is the courtrooms, because it just said county court at law. I didn't know if that was
No,
the
no, no,
office.
this, what you're looking at is optional for the hall, every department, that's, he's just giving us a price of what it would cost. That's not in the bid.
Furniture in base bid,
Oh, you looked at the furniture, I thought you were looking at the last.
that right there.
Yes, yes.
So it says county court at law. Is that the courtroom or is that the?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. That's the courtroom.
Okay.
So there's a judge chair, there's attorney and clerk chairs, there's fixed jury chairs. There's one jury that's an ADA chair that's not a fixed base. The tables, the attorney tables are electrified, so the attorney comes up with their laptop, they can plug in. There's a podium. Then the public pews. And then some conference tables behind. And then the chair. So again, the idea was that on opening day, you've got a functioning courtroom.
So that amount.
So when we pick a contractor to do this, because this isn't my area of expertise, but when we pick a contractor to do this, and we start making changes to what's been submitted versus what we have here in front of us, that's what y'all classify as change orders, yes?
Right. It could be an add or a deduct.
Okay, so is it standard procedure when you do a change order that it's going to be yay so much more than if it was in the original plan, if it's an addition? I mean, and I don't know what I'm talking about, if something's $200,000 and we go, okay, we want to add that to the contract, is it going to be $240,000 because there's a add-on to that? A 10%
No, it'll
add-on?
be, we'll negotiate the price and that additional will be added to it.
But how negotiable are contractors once they've got the contract at helping us with the cost?
They will give us an estimate and we can decide whether we want to do it or not.
Okay. Would we have the option to use somebody else as other subcontractor, or do you? No? So we're, okay.
You could contractually take it out of their scope and then,
Well, I'm not trying to make this difficult. I'm just, we all know, sitting here, looking at this, there are gonna be some changes along the way. There just gotta be. We're not that good, I don't think. And if we make those changes, are we gonna be paying for those changes at a premium?
Well, those changes are going to be owner driven.
So I think.
In the design, if there's a design flaw or something, it would be coming from us. If there's,
Understand, yeah.
you know, it's, you know, we bid a lot for landscaping. I agree, we should probably kick back some of that and, a little bit, keep it around the building maybe, or something like that. And, but that can be a price. We've got some prices on what, you know, some, that would be, and that could be a change order deduction.
So,
But as far as, you know, just, most of these change orders will be coming from us. Or any change orders will be coming from
Sure.
us.
so I think generally speaking, your prices after the fact would probably cost more because the spirit of competition at bid day is gone.
Right.
But that said, looking at the contractors we've interviewed, it gets into the contractor's perspective and how they want to treat their owners. And I think a reputable contractor will want to turn in reputable numbers because it's their reputation as
Right.
well. So maybe, if maybe Mr. Collier could speak to how his philosophy is on change orders, but I would think from what we know about them, they're going to look to treat you fair. And I think hopefully that will go downstream to the subcontractors.
One of the issues I'm not happy with is the electrical heating in the building. And I've done some research with several entities in the county, Navasota School District, Anderson School District. And the Anderson superintendent met with their project manager who built the new school here and said that he has never seen any information that states that electrical is more efficient than gas heating. Anderson is using gas heating, Navasota's using gas heating. I just, and from my building experience, in my experience with heating and electrical, I just don't see electrical being more efficient.
Well, it's not more efficient, but it's that upfront cost of where you're gonna get your payback is, you know, if it's, I mean, they gave us an estimate of 56 years, and even if they're way off, I mean, we're still talking, you know, 25, 30-year payback on that, even if they're half.
How about the information, Commissioner, that we were given in that last workshop when he was talking about the efficiency of electricity versus gas? Correct me if I'm wrong, but he said the BTUs generated by electricity was greater than what was generated by the natural gas.
Well, he was talking about natural gas versus propane.
Well, and I looked at propane versus natural gas, and propane burned at a higher BTU per amount than natural gas, and both of those gases were more BTUs per however they figured it than electricity. And I felt a little bit duped.
Well,
by that
he spoke, I think
workshop.
what he talked about on the electricity side was you either had them all on or all off, but these are staged where you can turn different stages depending on the need.
Yeah.
But I don't think he talked about being.
What
But
caused
I don't
me-
think that's what he said as far as the efficiency of that BTU
That's
versus.
exactly what he said.
I didn't catch the BTU.
It was on that paper that
The
he
paper
handed
that he
out.
gave us, and see, I'm all into value buying, and I'm gonna say he's the expert, I'm not, but just my little bit of research that I did, you're gonna get more BTU energy out of propane than you are natural gas, and both of those are more efficient than out of the electricity, which led me to believe that his 56-year payback, or 53, or whatever that number was misskewed. You know, and if it's gonna take us 25 years for a payback, all right, we might wanna say that's still too long, but I don't, I'm not saying he gave us false information. I'm just saying what little I know and what research I did, his information to me didn't prove out. And that was the, I forget his name, your
David
DVR.
Ashkar with DVR.
Yeah.
So, I want to make sure that you have confidence in your decision on this, so if you want me to hire another engineer to validate these numbers, I'll do that on my own dime, and you can do a return on investment. And if you want to look, what you also have to do is do a sketch, some drawings to do the boiler system
So you're
and get that
mechanical.
priced
Yeah.
by the contractor and see what the hard costs are, and then get a new operating cost pricing.
Is Collier here? Anybody from Collier? No. Can, the number that we got for the electrical heat versus the boiler heat was about 230,000, 200,000, over $200,000 difference. And I know I'm probably catching you off guard, but does that sound reasonable that electrical heat on installation and purchase, et cetera, it's gonna be a $200,000 difference?
That's not uncommon for there to be more because of the piping you have to do with it.
Well, I know more, but I mean, is it that, and I don't know what, did we get a cost on what the electrical installation was?
No.
They put that in the.
Yes, he took that
They
out.
put that in the, I think you put 30,000 in there for the strip heat.
Right, you did.
So the whole electrical for heating this new facility is gonna go 30,000 if we go electrical, but it's gonna be 200,000+ if we
I
do the
think
boiler.
I think the difference was 230,000.
Yeah, okay.
And let me tell you why that is. It's because of the water piping.
Okay,
So, all they're doing is running electric wire
okay,
and then plugging it into a heat strip.
got
We
it.
have to run heating coils and we have to run water to it.
Okay,
That's where your cost comes from.
okay,
It's not because of the boilers, it's like because we just purchased one, $26,000.
okay,
Okay, so it's the redrawing, it's the running of the water pipes, and it's the heat coil that's gonna be in the box. That's the difference, that's where you get it. The 56-year payback, the only thing I can argue with that is, how long is it gonna take you to pay this building back? I mean, if you're gonna look at everything that's payback cost, so look at everything that way, not just one item. Because, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I understand where you're going with that. I'd like to see numbers. I mean, in talking with other people, I think that would give us some basis to go on, because I'm hearing so many different stories of how this could play out. He's saying on his cost, your cost, you would have somebody else come in, give an estimate or breakdown on that, and let us look at the numbers, because
You did that
I'm
once.
hearing two different things.
Commissioner, you did that once. He's hired an engineering firm to do that
Well,
already.
he said you didn't feel like you had confidence in him, so he would get
Bring a
someone
third
else.
party in.
So why don't we get to choose our own third party?
You can do that.
Well, we may do that too,
Well, that's,
but I'm saying we need numbers.
I agree. I
That's
agree
all
with
I'm
you.
saying.
Numbers, I'll never beat
Numbers.
electric up front. Boiler will always beat electric out the back. Your monthly,
There's some discrepancies in that. I'm just saying, I've heard discrepancies. I'm not saying I know one way or another whether it's truth or not, but if I see it, factual evidence,
well, there's gotta be a reason your school districts are going away from it.
but I'm just saying, everybody talking about it, I'm hearing from all of these professionals, but maybe if I sit down and look at the numbers or the cost breakdown, because we even talked about what the city of Navasota averages, on their heating, but you said they have natural gas, if I heard you correctly. We're talking propane, and then I've talked to some electrical people, and then we've heard from your guy. So I think there's going to be some benefit to looking at the number. We got some numbers, but they're not based on propane, you know. They're based on natural gas, if I make no mistake. That's what I read. But what I'm saying is there may be other alternatives on how to do that, and having a professional outside of any of us may be guiding us in that direction. But I think if he was willing to pay at his cost to bring in another professional, I mean, it's not our cost, Al, it's his cost.
You're gonna get the same book.
Well,
I mean, common sense tells you that.
well, common sense tells me I need to look at numbers. I'd like to see it on paper.
I agree with that.
What I heard from the last meeting, and now I've heard possible leakage with pipes. You know, I've heard, and then we're also constrained by numbers eventually overall in this project. Yes, we have a large wish list of everything we'd like to see happen in this project, but at some point, we have to make cuts. We have to be efficient with what we're working with. And we talk about the upfront cost of an additional $200,000 and the payback of anywhere from 35 to 50 something years. It doesn't make sense, you know. Just look at it again, or have someone look at it for us.
So I think this equation is, essentially what this is an equation. Because I think we can all agree that propane or gas boilers are more efficient than electric. That's a fact. We're all in agreement.
And your
So-
DVR guy admitted that. He was just saying for the configuration of the building, he recommended the electrical.
Certainly, that's what he said. So we're now to a point where to make this decision is what is the return on investment period? I think that's where we are. And what is that delta? So the way we can do that, we can project with a lot more accuracy is what your propane costs are. And now Al's got some good numbers. He knows.
$1.05 a gallon.
So we can figure out what the boilers are, what typical boiler we would buy, how much they would burn, and how much propane we could project that they could burn for a year. I
And
think
use the correct wattage per kilowatt, not Houston's.
Certainly.
Where Houston gets to choose their electrical company. Here in the rural community, it's not 6 to 8 cents. It's 10 to 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
So use the rural community number, not Houston's number.
Okay, so we can fine tune the equation and give you a better ROI number so you can base your decision.
So we could, not knowing what, if we're gonna do boilers or heat strips, we can still move forward on everything else for the most part, with the understanding we're gonna take another look at that.
Correct. If we're moving forward with this contractor, we need to make some decisions pretty quick, because that would impact the equipment they need to purchase and
Right.
and meet their schedule obligations.
Well, I'm hoping they can throw a shovel full of dirt by the end of this year anyway, regardless.
Even if it's you that does it.
Even if it's me who does it. I've got a small shovel.
So would you like for him to,
I'd like you to give us, since I disagree, and it's not just me, but we don't have a consensus of agreement on what DVR said about the heat strip. If you're willing to give us another look at that, I'd like to see another look
Okay.
at the boilers versus the heat strips. And I think take into consideration those that have experience with the heat strips and now they're converting over to the boiler system.
Okay. And I can give you a list of some MEP firms we've worked with, and let you pick, and I can let them write a letter to state that they're looking at this objectively and have no bias to me whatsoever. Let the math speak for itself.
Well, okay, but would we get the same realistic information if whoever we award this contract to? Are they qualified to do that type of research, or is that not their area of expertise?
I think where Collier's mechanical contractor can help us with the cost of the boiler system. So together, we're gonna have to know what the hard costs are to offset and to pay that. So we're gonna have to create some kind of scope of work that mechanical contractor could price with a narrative and some boiler selection. They've got the mechanical plans. They know how many VAV boxes that they're gonna have to go to. So,
Just so you know, this is something we go through all the time. I mean, this is commonplace, almost every project, in fact, nearly every project for the last 10, 15 years, we have sit down and discuss the scope of the work and have an initial meeting, and if there are some things that come up, we can price, or credits, either way. A lot of times it comes in the form of value engineering. But just to address some of your questions about change orders, there is an allowance in the project, an owner's contingency allowance, inside of our contract price in our bid, $200,000, and the markup on any of those items is zero, because we already have the project marked up in our bid. So anything that comes within that $200,000 is a zero markup. Beyond that, it's at the 3.5%, in the range of 3.5% to 4% is our fee. What came up in the interview is that in the past we gave them a few dozen, I think, examples of projects where at the end of the project we actually gave money back to the owner of unused contingency funds instead of an ad change order. That's our reputation. Now, that being said, if you decide to add gas or something like that, it's a different beginning point. The other thing is that came up in the interview, and I'll share this with the court. Subcontractors we have on this project, a number of them that were requested in the interview have worked with us for 20 and 30 years, most of them 30 years. And I consider to be very honest, about as honest as you can get. They're from Brenham, Montgomery County, around this area. In addition to that, we do a lot of business with local subcontractors and vendors here, and have been in the past, and we've got the benefit of that for our pricing as well. So, I would just commit to saying that if you have any pricing prior to construction, it will be fair, overly fair.
I appreciate your comments, and I appreciate Michael's presentation, and as you say, you do this on a regular basis. Well, we haven't built a courthouse in 125 years. So, all these questions, and our Commissioner Mallett, he's in that field, and he has a better understanding, and I think he's done a great job of getting us to where we're at. It's just some of those finer details that we need to be a part of and help make some decisions, and go back to the landscaping where all that sounds nice and good. If I have a ranch property, and my theory is if we don't eat it, we don't raise it. So I saw live oaks and those kind of things. I'd rather have pecan trees and peach trees, go pick them at break time. That's another whole different story. But do you even want those because of the maintenance that is going to be anticipated taking care of it? Because as I say right now, we have a wonderful sheriff who lets us use part of the crew that he houses during the week, and they mow for free and that kind of thing. But if we got a different sheriff, and eventually we will, he might not be so lenient and gracious in giving us a diversion crew to do some of this maintenance. And then I know Mr. Peters is going to come back and say, hey, you guys built it, you want to take care of it, I need 2 more people inside and 1 more person outside. We're going to, So we're not just looking at getting this project done today, but taking care of this project for the next 125 years, or however long. Those are my thoughts. Sir?
We commit to being team players, to working out any things you want, exercises y'all want to do. We're willing to do that to try to help you get it right to start with.
And you're all out of Washington County, right?
Yes.
And I know your judge well, so
And you have another gentleman sitting at the Weber.
Weber's here? Who's Weber? You're with Weber?
Yes, sir.
Because I don't think the decision has been made, other than we got 3 top candidates, is that correct?
You have to review the rankings.
Okay. All right. So I guess I've said all I should have said. Commissioners?
Well, I mean, I'm just kind of at odds. I don't know really what direction we're going. Are we making decisions on some of these issues today, or what, are we making decisions later or after we discuss with the contractor? I mean, what's the?
I don't know what the exact answer is, other than I do know that the next item on the agenda is for us to make a decision between number 1, 2, and 3, based on the interviews from the building committee. And then we've at least heard from Collier, I don't know, Weber Construction, if you have anything additional to say, or comments along the lines of what Collier has said, or how you work with clients.
Yeah, I think all of the general contractors, reputable general contractors, do the best they can to ensure that the clients get what they pay for.
Okay.
And at a fair basis. And Collier, I'm sure, is no different than what we do as well, which we do exactly the same thing.
Okay, thank you, sir. So Commissioner, to answer your question, most of my questions have been answered, of the reservations that I had, you know, the idea on the different brick pattern, carpet versus vinyl. I like the floor layout of where the high traffic areas are and what y'all are doing. And if the price is essentially the same between carpet and that vinyl, we can make the decision a little bit later. Do we want those courtrooms, the front part carpet and the back part vinyl? Do we want it all carpet as it's laid out to be? We've got time to make those decisions over the next month or 2. I don't know how quickly the contractors will be buying those materials, but.
So I think you're at a point where you want to start negotiations with a selected contractor. So I think, is that the
I think the answer to that is
the
yes.
motion that you're contemplating?
On the next agenda.
Well, the next item is consider and take action to select and offer for construction of the County Justice Center, and discuss, negotiate, and approve a contract and any modifications thereto. So.
Okay, so I think in that process, and there was in the bid documents, there was an example contract that would be used to start negotiations. It's an AIA document. The county attorney has looked at that.
Right.
But that would be a starting point for negotiations, and I guess in this negotiation period, you could get some pricing either ahead of the contract being signed or after it. But you could sign a letter of intent to negotiate with the contractor so you can get some real world bid prices, especially on this boiler versus electric situation.
And you are going to move forward with getting us a list of people that, or companies that would be good for that. Al, would you be okay to pick the one that gives us a review on that?
I think Chad should do that. He's your ability.
All right, that's fine. And I guess we've discussed 26 to enough. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
I find it to be quite helpful. Thank you. We'll go to agenda item number 27. Consider and take action to select an offer for construction of the County Justice Center, and discuss, negotiate, and approve a contract and any modifications thereto. Turn it over to the building committee at this point.
Well, like was presented by Mr. Lloyd, we interviewed 3 contractors. Collier Construction, Madison Construction, and Weber Commercial. And I mean, we did have, 3 very good contractors. I don't know, Philip, anything you want to add to what your insights?
No, the top three you just mentioned, they were all scored according to the committee scoring tabulations.
Should we read the amounts? I mean, the public doesn't know or may not can see that.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess the base bid, then we actually did the interview process and actually did a score, but we don't have our score sheets with us right now, but, I guess Collier Construction's base bid was $10,330,000 with an alternate one for the drive of $125,000. Madison Construction had a base bid of $10,590,000 with an alternate one of $216,000, and Weber Commercial had a base bid of $10,860,000 with a alternate one of $219,000.
Excuse me if I could
Yes, sir.
say one thing. As a reminder, the step one prices were read aloud in public and are posted on the county website. So the pricing is public. The step two analysis of their quals is still in private hands right now.
But like I said, all three were very qualified contractors. And so as a consensus, I think it was pretty unanimous about from the billing committee to recommend Collier Construction.
Okay. So you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I move to select Collier Construction for the construction of the County Justice Center and to negotiate and approve a contract and any modifications.
Is there a second?
I've got a question. In the event that we can't reach a negotiated situation with some of these issues, are we allowed to back out?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 27 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Cox, and that's to award the contract to Collier Construction. Is that the correct name of your company, sir? Is there further discussion?
Judge, could I
Yes.
ask, just for some clarity, is that the commissioners making the proposal that the building committee will now negotiate that contract with Collier Construction, or is that to come back and have the entire court negotiate that with Collier Construction? It seemed to me difficult and cumbersome to have the whole court do that, probably have those members of the committee negotiate the contract, and then have you all consider whether to approve it after they've negotiated it.
I think that sounds reasonable. Building committee, are y'all up to that challenge?
Absolutely.
Yes, but I would want to reserve the time to come back and inform the court before we actually get into a formal agreement
Okay.
with Collier.
And I'd let the committee know that to keep this process moving, that if we need to call a special meeting versus waiting for our regular meetings, please consider doing so. Okay? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 28, discuss and take action on peer review. The question is, or the suggestion was that did we want to have some company do a peer review of what PGAL has done for us through their putting together this plan, contract, so on and so forth. And one reason this was put onto the agenda is I met a company at a conference, and they said, "Oh, I understand y'all are doing a new justice center." I said, "Yeah," and they said, "Well, One of the things that we do is we review what's been submitted and plans and prices and all of that to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck. And I said, well, that's interesting, and I made contact with them. The auditor's office helped supply some information to them. I don't think we ever heard back from them, is that correct? Okay. So, no, you're not the one.
Sorry.
That's okay. But, no, we've heard.
That's not the same company.
Because, so I had made a contact. Also, Commissioner Walker had kind of the same experience. And based on her experience, this company was then invited in. Commissioner Walker, myself, and that company talked and discussed, what are some of the things that your company does, et cetera. And we did get a proposal back from that company. Commissioner Walker, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, we have some representatives here for Vanner.
Banner. It's fine.
I just know Ron.
It's Ron Roberts.
Ron Roberts.
And if you'll come to the podium as you're doing.
Yes, sir. I'm with Banner Construction Management. We do this agency, construction management, further than our offices. I'm out of the Houston office. We're in Louisiana, Colorado, California. And some of the questions that you guys had posed today are things that we do in the constructability review. For example, your maintenance guys wants to say that we want quiet courtrooms, but the carpet on the floors creates an issue. So that's to be taken into consideration. So we do a constructability review based on the architect's design, which we sure grade based on the contractor's proposal, to make sure that there aren't any holes in it that could be missing that will come up and bite us later. For example, small things that you never think about, like for example, if you have the contractor purchasing the chairs and you've got carpet, but you somewhere down the line you switch from carpet to vinyl, the rollers on the chairs have to be changed, because if they're not, you'll slide across the floor on a carpet roller on a vinyl floor. But things like that, so we come in and we review those with the team. We talk about what's going on. We try to get the best bang for your buck. Also, since budget is always an item, what we do is we identify areas that you're getting some premiums that you may or may not need, that you can scale back on. If it's how much wood you have, how much tiles on the floor, how much carpeting, just small things that add up. The landscaping that you're going to do, because if you do the landscaping, there's beautiful, but then they have to be maintained, and so you have to take those costs into account. We're talking about whether you use gas or electric. I've done some work on a bunch of schools, and people are shying away from electrical heat because of the fact that the long-term efficiency is less. The short-term cost is more, but the long-term efficiency is less. So we do things like that, and in addition to that, we're talking about change orders, we're talking about changes in the contract. You want to negotiate those first. You want to get those out of it before you sign the contract, because yes, you will get a better price if he has to price it in a competitive format, and you know exactly what you're paying for. So that's what we do. We submitted a proposal. My colleague had to leave, but we submitted a proposal, and we would love to do work for you guys.
And I guess to talk a little bit more about some of the things we discussed in the meeting, and how my biggest concern was we were hearing that the bid packet was large, and did we overlook some things, or and how can we, and let me back up and say, usually you all come in at the beginning of a project.
Yes, ma'am.
If we were doing construction management, you would come in, work with the architect, work with everybody along the way, the building committee.
Yes, ma'am.
But we're kind of behind the 8 ball as far as that part. That train has already left the station over there. So now we're trying to make sure that this project could possibly stay on task, and that with all of the concerns that we're hearing, that somebody outside of the two, the county or PGAL, look at this project and see if there are ways that we could save money and move forward with negotiation.
Yes.
And all of those type of things.
We
Is
will
that part of
negotiate.
this scope?
Yes, ma'am, that is part of the scope. And it's and if you look at the scope, it's it's a not to exceed number, and the hours are in there that we anticipate that we'll need, but will not to exceed the cost that we put in there. Initially, we would have come in at the beginning, we'll help you with your programming. We will talk to the team members, the building committee, to figure out exactly what it is you want, use our expertise. We've got people who've done courthouses all over the country, so we know what's going on. Also, since being in the region, we know what square footage prices are going for in the area. And so we would come in and try to help you with that, to say whether we're going to do stucco or should we do brick, has the cost of brick gone up. Also, things help you identify, like mechanical systems that you're going, because some mechanical systems are more cost efficient, but you have to order them well in advance because there's long lead time items on them. So we come in. So now that we're in the middle of it, we come in and we help you. We review those documents. The architects, we've looked at some of them. They're great documents, but there are areas that we think you could gain some money back on. Some areas that we think you might be able to do a little bit differently, and that's what we do in our constructability reviews.
According to I asked for a scope of work that your company would do in a peer review. And number one, evaluate the bid documents, identifying any potential cost reduction items, determining order of magnitude cost reduction, evaluate the bid documents, looking for items that could be value engineered. Number two, presenting the value engineer list to the building committee and other county officials for approval of any recommendation. Number three, facilitating the contract negotiation process with the selected contractor. During the negotiation project, we will track the identified proposed cost reductions, validate them for reasonability, and so on. Number four, work with the architect and the county to finalize the contract with the general contractor prior to the expiration of the proposals in early January and according to the county's timeline. Your fee that you propose, our fee for these tasks is a not to exceed fee. We have shown the hours we believe will be needed for each task in the chart below. And you broke those costs down and controlled tasks down. And number one, evaluate the plans and specification for cost reduction, facilitate and review, the same things I read.
Yes, sir.
Negotiate the cost, and you broke those down by hours. Is that what those 24 and the 40?
Yes, ma'am. During the month of November, for project director and for senior project managers, we feel that take those hours. We've got our senior people who do this for a living. Banner has a constructability review portion of our company, and they do this. And these are the hours myself, our team members, and directors will look into in doing this project. And this is what we feel will be required for this particular project. And we will track those hours and bill you those hours, but we will never exceed those hours.
Okay, it says
It takes a little more.
our total not to exceed fee for the work described is $30,240. We also request a $2,000 reimbursable allowance to be established to cover travel and any county authorized expenses.
And you will approve those.
We only invoice Grimes counties for the hours we use and the direct expenses we incur as we do the work. And then you go on and you have your deliverables, such as your constructability report, your list of value engineering items, and finalizing the contract. So I think all of us received this. I think Cherie sent it out to everyone yesterday. So, being here from the last project that we did as a county, we refurbished the building, and I can't tell you how many change orders we saw coming in. And it changed the scope of things when you go back and you look at the total cost of everything. Even after the fact, we saw a lot of stuff coming in.
The key to that, or what we try to do, is during this review to identify as many of those things as possible. Identify as many things that don't line up in the contract and in the documents. The documents are great. and to make sure that everyone has the same understanding.
Right.
The architect has a design, and he has a design intent. The contractor bids on these documents, and he has an understanding. Our position is to make sure that everybody has the same understanding, and also to make sure that the building commissioners and the building committee and the commissioners have the same understanding as well, because that way everyone knows what's going on and there are no inconsistencies or no problems that jump up at the last minute.
I did speak with the county judge of Gillespie
Yes, ma'am.
Gillespie County, and you all just finished a project over there. You've done several projects for them there. And they were extremely pleased. They feel like the money that they spent, they saved money.
That's our
And
job.
so y'all did a jail, 50,000 square foot jail over there, 96 beds, administration offices above it, and courtrooms also above it. And he had nothing but praise for this company. I also understand from him that y'all also did some planning studies, some long-range planning studies.
We do those too.
And it's for personnel, facilities, and equipment needed for the future. You're working with them now on an AgriLife extension building, and then another smaller facility that you're gonna renovate after they move out of that building.
Yes, ma'am.
So, his name was County Judge Mark Schroer, you have better, over in Fredericksburg. But I did just want to do some references. I didn't get a chance to call anybody else, but nothing but praise for Miss Gloria and her team. I'm sorry Miss Gloria had to leave.
That's what we do. We step up for the next one.
And I think our meeting went really well with her in understanding, helping translate Grimes County's needs and what we want. And we already discussed that this is probably too big of a project for Commissioner Mallett and for Al to put it on their back, but to also try to get some help brought in to where we have another set of eyes outside of us on the project. So I don't know if y'all had a chance to review anything or look at anything. You want to add anything to that, Judge?
Well, this is just for upfront stuff, which I think we've already identified a lot of stuff where we can make some changes or value engineering, with regards to landscaping and things we might could do. It'd be a change based on, vinyl versus carpet.
I heard us discussing a lot. I don't know if we made any real headway in
Well, but we've
making
identified those
decisions.
items, so if we get numbers, they can kind of come in and go,
Because we're still talking about the heat versus the heating situation. We're talking the landscaping situation. We didn't decide anything, but
No, we're
later
not
on. we
deciding,
could
but
dis-
we've identified those
Yeah,
problems.
we
where
can
come back and
identify 'em, but
figure it later.
I guess my concern is just making sure that we got everything put out there correctly and that that's been translated and it be translated to us so that we in turn can translate it to the public. I mean, we've been kind of, the building committee might know what's happening, but we don't know exactly what's going on until we sit in formal meetings like we are today. T, you sit in on that meeting with us. Did you have anything to contribute to the discussion?
On the peer review?
Mhm.
I mean, it kind of goes, I think, my opinion is that we probably need another set of eyes to look over things, to kind of be that buffer. It is a big project that the county hasn't had the opportunity to partake in quite a few years, so if the court seems fit,
Are we talking
their
about-
fee that they have is, I think it's a good proposal for the amount of work that they're willing to do for us, and even to help the building committee enter into negotiations with the contractors that you guys just selected.
And I guess that's some of my biggest concern that I was hearing from some of the people who sit on the committee too, is the negotiations and getting the best price we can get as far as this building and moving the project forward. I mean, we just kind of been a little stalled a little bit on what we're doing. And it's okay to stall because we need to know, we need to have some definite and definitive answers to some of this stuff that we're questioning but like I said, I was hearing from the beginning how big the packet was and it was given at the last minute, and maybe some things came back and we answered those in the meeting prior, but we want to make sure that we're spending so much money here that we're getting the best bang for the buck. And that's my biggest concern. I mean, if we can spend $30,000, I think, on brick, in the pattern of a brick, I would rather take that money and spend it.
It was 10.
Well, on some other things. On furniture, for one thing. I'd rather take that and take it to somebody's desk away. I'm just kidding. But I think
a lot
it's
of that was
important.
we want to try to model and kind of get a vintage look to the courtroom. That was one of our things we want to try to,
A vintage look, is that what you're saying?
kind of try to show respect to the old courthouse. That we were trying to put some in the design, and I mean that we got pretty elaborate at one point in time. We backed off on some of that for value and maintenance. Oh, it's not here anymore.
But some of the things I'm hearing, we might have to back off a little bit more, because if you're wanting to go propane, that's an increase. That's the $200,000.
Well, that's
difference.
a completely different. You're talking about the facade. That's what I was talking about.
I'm
the
just
facade
throwing
of
things
But
out
yeah,
there as
I mean,
far as what
but we've
costs
come up-
money.
But we've come up with that already. That's been identified. So we're going to pay $30,000 to identify what we've already identified.
Well, there are other things. Negotiation.
I mean, I get what you're saying, I do.
Yeah.
But we still haven't made a decision.
No.
And that's the area that I'm struggling with.
But we're
I mean,
trying to get
court-
information. We're going to get information before we make our decisions on that. I mean, we can find out on landscaping the cost of what we would like to see landscaped, and we can get a price for that.
Miss Mary had her hand.
I believe that Collier Construction also offers the same type of service. And I don't know, it could save money in the long run.
But Collier is the contractor.
I know.
I'm trying to get someone that's doesn't have anything to benefit as far as decisions made. Al wasn't happy with P-Gal bringing somebody else in to look at the heating, unless we chose them. This could be that extra eye or ears that we're looking for. And that's my biggest concern, is that we do everything we can to save money on this project. And like he said, we didn't make any decisions on a lot of the things. We're just still talking about evaluating.
What this is to identify a lot of that stuff. So we could, if you wanted to, and just contract them to negotiate, if we found, if we've already found the types of reductions that we can have on there. I mean, like I said, I think it would be a repetitive motion to go in there and.
If in that
If
price
we brought a
he
company in
finds
to begin
other-
with, to help communicate as a building committee, to figure out what we wanted and help translate that to the architect and what kind of we want to go, I could see that would have been a benefit to begin with. But, I mean, it's already designed,
It sounds like we still need to do some communicating with translating with the contractor, or not the contractor, with the architects. It's for getting real with the numbers, to me, on the cost reductions.
Might I interject?
Sure.
All right, and I understand what you're saying, that you can identify some of the costs, some of the things, and you have started identifying it. Part of the thing that we would do as a race to that is get real numbers. For example, using Mr. Cox as an example, I'm not saying that you are this way, but he can tell you that it's going to cost, he's going to give you back $50,000 back to change 15 trees. all right? And when I know, and the market knows that it should be $75,000 to change 15 trees. So we negotiate on that in your behalf to see if that's a reasonable number. He may give you a number that's incredibly and terribly reasonable, but we would know that. Other things that we do, as I said, as it relates to that is, from a value engineering standpoint, we identify and we figure out what the real price is. We figure out what the real cost of these things are as well. Small things, for example, like should you order your furniture yourself or should you go through the contractor? Because if you go through him, there's a markup. And I understand the whole time frame from the architect, because if you order through the contractor, when you occupy the building, you have a space that's ready to occupy, your court's already occupied. If you order yourself, you can save money. You may have to do some additional scheduling, but that's what we do and that's what we know. And it would have been better for everyone had we come in at the beginning. And we will make good use of your money. We will not charge for any hours that we don't use. And if we look in it and see that there's nothing for us to do, we won't charge you for the things that we are not going to do. We are your agent. The architect has a vision. The contractor has a price, all right, for the project. Our only allegiance is to you. We don't have allegiance to them. We don't have allegiance to them. Our only allegiance is to you. And as an agency construction manager, that's our allegiance. If you don't see the value, tell us, and we'll stop. Because it is a not to exceed price. It's not $30,000. It's not to exceed $30,000. If we get in and it's $10,000 and we see there's nothing else for us to do, then that's all you pay us. It's just a not to exceed number. We won't charge you more than that. And so if you don't see our value as we go along, then all you have to do from construction management, all you have to do is say, okay, Ron, stop. And it'll stop.
And I think even the contractor, one of the reasons we're talking about the brick was they brought up the value engineering of changing the way that brick was laid. So we wouldn't even known about that change or been brought it to our attention. The contractor is the one that brought that as a potential safety during our interview process.
Well, like I said, my concern has been from the different members on the building committee that maybe other eyes would be beneficial to us, somebody that's acting on our behalf, to help us with this project.
And this is just another example of confusion on my part, I guess. I mean, at this point today, I don't see how this is money that wouldn't be well spent. But I do understand what everybody else is saying. I don't know what the right answer is, but I do know this, that there's been enough questions asked and there's been enough confusion and enough just issues that have come up that people don't have answers for. I do believe that it would benefit us to have somebody else look at what this whole scenario looks like now and at the end to determine if there are other ways that we can go, and if there are, can we save money, or if we need to make a change and it's going to cost us more money, is that the best way to go? $30,000 is a lot of money, but we're talking about investing millions of dollars. And I want to make sure we get it right from the beginning.
Talita, you have a comment?
So on that proposal, your company would take that whole bid document, the 1,800 and plus pages, and review it from front to cover?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know, even being part of the building committee, I have not had the opportunity to read that bid document from cover to cover. And I don't know that anybody else on the building committee has either. For one, I have a little bit of a construction background, but a lot of that is foreign language to me. I think it would be beneficial to have somebody who has that expertise and who is willing to sit there and go cover to cover. I mean, just, with the commissioner's support, you guys are privy to that whole packet too. Has any of y'all actually read that bid document from cover to cover?
Nope.
I don't, half of it, I don't know what it is.
Didn't Al read it?
Al read it, and I don't want to say cover to cover, there may have been a few pages that I skipped over, but if I skipped over them, it's because I didn't really know what I was looking at anyway.
And I know that it went up really fast. The plans came out a couple of days before this document was supposed to go live. And I know that we didn't really have a chance to review it prior to the bid document going live, because we were trying to meet that timeline that we said that we were going to do. On the day that we had the pre-bid meeting, there was 70-something page addendum issued out the day of, because of changes that were found or questions that came out just in that time frame that the document went up for the people who were actually reviewing it. So, my opinion is that we need another set of eyes on it, just to make sure that the county is going to, like they say, get the best bang for the buck, or that we're really looking at it thorough. The downfall is that we're going really fast, and you don't want to overlook something, because it's not a small project. It's a $12 million project that we're looking at, and it's something that you want it to last 125 years, just like the current courthouse that we have.
$30,000 is a small percentage of what we're spending on the whole project too.
John C., were you about to say something?
I was not. Thank you. This lady always kicks me when I
Okay,
say
she
too
was
much.
kicking you? Okay.
She's too far away from you to kick
Oh.
you. I just would point out that you shopped for your architect, you've shopped now for your contractor. You may also want to shop for this service. And I know the commissioner has done that, but it may be that you also may want to look around. It's under the $50,000 threshold, but you're considering one source today, and certainly it sounds like they have credentials, but I just leave that for the court to. $30,000 is still taxpayer dollars that you're spending, and you better be sure you're spending it correctly.
Well, like the judge say, he talked to one company, never heard back from them.
Yeah. Well, I understand. I'm just offering that word of prudence.
Sure. Yes. That was something you did say, though, that struck me, but it'll come back to me. But I just feel like that if we have a committee that's not quite sure what we put out there and what we're getting back, I'm just saying, I think that having someone on board to help us interpret, help us to communicate, help us to understand, help us to stay on task. We're dealing with a limited amount of money, and it's not a small amount of money, and we can't afford to run over in making mistakes that we didn't really thoroughly look at in the beginning.
Well, like I said, mistakes, if they're design mistakes, we're not gonna have to pay for them.
That's right.
But there may be other mistakes outside of design mistakes that Thark said, well, he explained that in one of your meetings, that if it's something that they did, it's on them, and it's if something we forgot, it's on us, or like that, those kind of mistakes. So it's not that I don't have faith in you reviewing this, but I think we all need to understand the project. I'm not into construction at all. I love construction, but I'm not into construction. And this is I'm sorry to say, it's
overwhelming.
There you go. That's a good word. I was gonna say frightening, but overwhelming is good. This is a large project, and I just don't think us as a court can just keep all eyes on at one time. You have things that you do, we have things that we do, but having someone outside of us that looks out for our best interests. We talked about in the beginning, you said the building committee made a recommendation. We didn't even take the recommendation in the beginning from the building committee, so that was a concern up front. So I would just like the confidence of the building committee and the confidence of this committee to move forward with this project. And right now I don't have it.
I mean, there was an issue that came up today that it was an issue of whether we use carpet or whether we use ceramic tile. To evaluate that process, and we talk about we want to build something that's going to last 125 years, how many times are we going to have to change carpet? Or is ceramic tile going to be the way to go in that issue? And if so, what's the difference in the cost? Those are the kind of things that I'd like to see. I mean, every dollar that we can save on this project is a dollar that we can utilize in other areas of the county without additional burdens on other departments and taxpayers having to come up with those dollars as well.
And we talked about, I think, peer review maybe at another meeting, or maybe it was just a dream I had, I don't know. But I don't know how long it would take, Mr. County Attorney,
Yes, ma'am.
if we had to go out for proposals, because we're dealing with a timeline. We've gotten a proposal from, we've asked for one, didn't get that.
You mean on this? Yeah, I wasn't
Yes.
saying necessarily go out for bids formally. Same thing that Ms. Brzezinski did. She didn't go out for formal bids. She called around.
Mhm.
Same thing. I typically make the point about my own life and a TV, and of course, I'm probably slightly more frugal than you guys. Look at my vehicle, you know that. Anyway, I'm gonna shop for a TV at 3 or 4 or 5 different places. I'm not just gonna buy it at Walmart. I'm not going to one place. Well, that's the same place you are. You're not obligated to, but do you wanna shop around? I'm not telling you another company could provide the same thing that may have the same credentials for less money, but I'm saying, at this point, do you know that answer?
Mhm.
That's the only issue I'm raising.
Well, I would at least like to see us make a decision on whether we would need a peer review. And then we could, you know.
Well, my quote, as unofficial as it was more than what was recommended, or what's proposed here.
Mhm.
Okay. But then they fell out of favor because they didn't respond. So I thought, you know, if they're not gonna respond to that, how much value are they gonna bring to the table? If with your research you're satisfied, then I think I have enough to make a decision. I don't know if the rest of the court does or not. But-
Well, I hate we didn't get to vote before Commissioner Dobianski,
Mr. Walker?
but I,
Gary Walker, I hate to belabor the point, y'all talked about the peer review and great length. And personally, I support that, but it's not my project. But
It could be if you say so.
I'm out.
Almost sounded like an
Not my
offer
area
to
of
me.
Expertise. But I think from what I've watched over time, watch y'all struggle with these decisions, and to be blunt, Al and the architect don't get along. There's not a tremendous amount of trust that I see between the court and the architect. That's a bad way to go into a project. I think having a third party that's responsible to you, it can help manage the different personalities and interests, I think is desirable. But something else, beyond the peer review of the plans, now, if the gentleman from Banner does his job right, they will probably save you their fee. But aside from that, you also need to look forward. He said something that caught my eye or ear. They also do construction management.
That's the next issue.
And I think that y'all seriously need to consider hiring a construction manager. As you said, this has been overwhelming. It's essentially a full-time job for somebody that's already got a full-time job and something else he does for fun called being on Commissioner's Court. I think it's asking too much. I would strongly suggest that you consider bringing a construction manager in, whether it's the same firm that does value engineering or not. But I would strongly recommend that. I think in the long run, you will have a much better project and will save a lot of heartache and probably a lot of money in the long run.
Well, Venner is a Construction Management Incorporated. So, you know, appreciate your comments very much, because this could be a test. If we feel like we're satisfied with what they do up front, then we can certainly consider them for a construction management group. But I think we've come to the conclusion, we don't know who, but we do know that within our ranks, we don't have the time. We might have the expertise, but we don't have the time to
Oversee.
oversee it. Thank you.
And that was part of this discussion in the beginning, was trying to understand what they do as a construction management group. But we felt like this would be the first step.
And I agree with that, but I think it's something you need to be thinking about.
Oh, yeah.
Because once you get past this phase of the project, and you're actually into construction, you're gonna need somebody
It's right around the corner.
looking at it on a heavy-duty basis. And the architect's proposal, as I understand it, is construction administration.
Yes.
Which is not day-to-day oversight, not the inspections, it's more of a monthly type process. You know, if I understood the contract correctly.
That's correct.
Then you're gonna need some assistance on that.
Well, we talked about it, but we thought we would go out for proposals for construction management, that this would
John,
be
have you seen
a
this?
first
I
step.
have seen it, Judge.
Any issues?
Well, I like the oral representation that you can end it at any point, but that's not contained in that document, so you need to ask for that modification before you execute.
Okay. You heard that?
Yes, sir.
So, do you have a contract that would have to be signed between the two that we could get over to the county attorney to review it?
We have to, all we really have to do is to modify that proposal to add the terminated rule portion of in our field, it's only paperwork that you do, and the contract is only the amount of work that's done.
Right, I think what you're hearing, Commissioner, is that is the contract. I don't know what you were hoping for, and of course, lawyers usually.
No, I felt like it was, but.
Lawyers usually muck up a deal with a 10 or 20-page deal. This is okay with me. The question is, are you okay with what's listed there being the services that you're going to get? Is that sufficient clarity?
Yes.
And the provision as far as being able to terminate when you desire, and only pay for what work's been done to that point, that provision is not in there, at least as far as I saw.
Well, if we could get that added before the county judge would, if we decided today to go that route before he would sign off on it, if we could get a statement added to the proposal.
I will call my office and.
One thing that I would ask is that where the number one says evaluate plans and specifications for cost reduction items.
Yes, sir.
If you saw something glaring that, and I don't know, would the reverse of that be cost inflation items that maybe something Collier overlooked or PGAL overlooked?
Yes,
And you caught?
If there are things that are in excess that we saw that we think we might want to take out, we'll do that. Or if we saw something that, for example, if the design said slab on grade and we thought it should be post pier, then we would call it out to you because we look at the geological report as well. So if we find anything that's glaring that we think we can take out, or we find something that's glaring that's in excess of cost that we think we might want to consider, we'll highlight those as well. Any abnormalities that we find.
All right. Commissioner, you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we take action on hiring Banner to do a peer review on the Justice Center with the amendments to the said contract, adding verbiage.
I've got a question. My attorney friend. If we modify it right there and I sign it right there, will that suffice?
Sure, as long as you have authority. Well, I mean, right now it's got Gloria's name on it.
Yeah, she's
her
the vice
signature.
president, I'm the.
Assuming you have authority. We've assumed you had authority to speak for the
I do.
entity, so
I do.
I would assume, I'm fine with it. That's what I envisioned was it would just be
Right.
interlineated on the second page.
Right.
All right, Judge, I made a motion.
Okay, you good with that motion? Are you good with that motion? Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, but could you restate that?
Really? I like to take action.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
You wanted me to really do that?
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let it, record show it's a 4-0. Commissioner Dobianski is excused. All right, agenda item number 29, consider and take action regarding the burn ban and authorize the county judge's signatory. Be my recommendation, we leave it as is. Is that agreed? Okay. Receive any updates on the strategic plan? Anybody have anything there? No? We'll now go to agenda item previously 23, 30-A. 23 is consideration of possible action regarding the sale or exchange of property being a portion of lots 16-2, 17, and 18, block 26, town of Iola. Is it expected that the court will convene a closed or executive session regarding this item as authorized by section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code, deliberation regarding real property? We'd ask those that are not involved, please excuse themselves from the room.
Yeah, I think we should have come.